Chapter 81. Lin Cong brought Lin Yao to the Li family. At first, Lin Yao wasn't interested in Wuxia city. After all, in the eyes of an adventurer like Lin Yao, such a city was merely a small supply station. There was no use in adventuring in it. What was the point of a place where even a few experts couldn't find it? But when Lin Yao walked into the Li family's gate, she was completely shocked. First, he saw an old man lying on a swaying rattan chair on the training field. As he swayed gently, he was basking in the sun. However, the 40 to 50 guards in front of him were also training nervously. Although the old man didn't deliberately observe them, he could see that these people were very nervous. They didn't slack off in the slightest during their training. What surprised Lin Yao the most was that this old man's strength was actually so unfathomable. This old man's cultivation was actually the same as Lin Cong's. Seeing Lin Cong, Gu Xuanwu opened his eyes and waved his hand to greet him. Lin Cong cupped his fist towards Gu Xuanwu. Judging from this scene, Gu Xuanwu's status and strength were definitely not below Lin Cong's. Could this person be the Li family's old ancestor? Lin Yao thought to herself. Even if he was the Li family's old ancestor, he was still a level lower than Lin Cong. Lin Cong continued to lead Lin Yao forward. When they passed by another courtyard, Lin Yao suddenly saw a huge head poking out from the wall. At the same time, a strong smell of bird poop wafted over, startling Lin Yao. Such a huge bird. When Lin Yao saw the bird in front of her, her eyes widened. Isn't this the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle? Level 3 Meta Beast. This was a level 3 Meta Beast. Even if Lin Yao encountered a level 3 Meta Beast, she could only escape with her tail between her legs. If she stayed a little longer, she would be discovered and eaten by the level 3 Meta Beast. If she was targeted by the level 3 Meta Beast, there was no need to think about escaping. She could only think about how to die in a better way. Lin Yao wasn't the only one who was shocked. Even Lin Cong was shocked. How long had it been? The Li family had actually brought back another level 3 origin beast. It was inconceivable. However, for Li Zongjiu, these things were indeed not inconceivable. He then passed by the area of the pill hall. Things were getting interesting. There were about 20 to 30 disciples of the pill hall. Standing at the side was elderly Julian. Lin Cong had seen elderly Julian before. Back then, it was elderly Julian who treated him when he was severely injured. At this moment, elderly Julian, who held a high position in the family, was actually standing at the side like a student, listening to a fatty who was talking loudly on the high platform. After listening for half a day, he didn't hear anything related to alchemy. However, Li Zongjiu said that this fatty was an alchemy master, so he must have some skills. If you want to practice alchemy, you must first think about risking your life. If you don't even dare to risk your life, what right do you have to say that you like to practice alchemy? Let me tell you, back when I was practicing alchemy, I couldn't wait to jump into this furnace. Li Yun had been clenching her fists for more than 10 minutes. This fatty had been bragging since early in the morning until noon. She didn't even know what this fatty was talking about. It was all useless stuff. He was talking about things that he didn't know where he came from, but he treated these things as his own experiences. He even bragged that he had seen them at the Heavenly Pill Pavilion headquarters in the palace. He was really thick-skinned. I'm going to strangle this damn fatty. Li Yun's fists were already trembling. She couldn't hold it in any longer and was about to charge forward. Li Julian also reached out to block Li Yun. Bear with it. In fact, with Li Julian's bad temper, if it weren't for Li Zongjiu's face, he would have already picked up a wooden stool and smashed him. Wang Jing watched for a while. Everyone seemed to be in high spirits. It seemed that they were very enthusiastic about alchemy. That was a good time to show off his skills. Since you are all so enthusiastic, let me show you what alchemy is. Wang Jing immediately stood up. His action immediately attracted everyone's attention. Even Lin Song and Lin Yao couldn't help but stop in their tracks. They wanted to see what Wang Jing would do. Wang Jing, with his big belly, came to the side of the training hall and plucked a weed. Let's see what kind of tricks a fatty like you can play. Li Yun had already determined that Wang Jing was a liar. It was just a facade. No, it didn't have any resemblance with this facade. It wasn't worth mentioning at all. How could this kind of trash show off in front of them? Therefore, Li Yun was already prepared to teach Wang Jing a lesson after this. Wang Jing placed the stalk of grass in his palm. Then, he pinched the root of the weed. He stared at it for about 10 seconds. The brewing process had indeed taken a long time. Even the surrounding people's breathing had become cautious. Finally, when everyone was about to reach the limit of their patience, Wang Jing finally made his move. Suddenly, a red force in his hand poured into the weed. Suddenly, the weed seemed to emit red light. The light shone brightly. It was incomparably bright and dazzling. It's fire. Oh my God, this guy can actually use alchemy fire. Li Yun was shocked when she saw Wang Jing use this skill. Of course, using the fire of alchemy was a rather advanced technique. However, at this moment, the alchemy fire poured into the weed. It directly ignited the inside of the weed. However, the outside of the weed was not damaged at all. That level of skill was truly unique. When Li Yun saw this scene, she knew that Wang Jing's ability to control fire was very strong. The insides of this stalk of grass had been completely burned away. However, the outside of the weed was still intact. There was no damage at all. This was the ultimate level of alchemy fire. Ha! As an alchemy elder, Li Jillian naturally knew how difficult it was to control the fire to such a level. This fat man called Wang Jing had real strength. Even elder Li Jillian himself would not be able to reach such a level. Lin Song and Lin Yao, who were watching this scene from afar, widened their eyes. Obviously, he was also very shocked by the skill that Wang Jing had displayed. This level of control of Yuan power can be said to be deeply ingrained. Without dozens of years of hard work, it is impossible to reach this level. This person has reached such a level at such a young age. He can be called a monster. Lin Song took a deep breath. At this moment, this was the only thought in Lin Yao's mind. This Li family was really a place of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. There was a glimmer of light in her pitch-black eyes. She really wanted to see the master of the Li clan. She wanted to see what such a capable person looked like. Chapter 82. Old Mr. Lin, this must be Miss Lin Yao. She's indeed a hero. Li Tianqing strode over. He was just discussing various matters regarding the cooperation with the Bai family. After all, the Li family only had so many people. It was impossible to take into account all aspects. Moreover, such a big market couldn't be finished by just one family. Therefore, it wasn't a bad thing to let the Bai family participate. Hearing that Lin Song had returned, Li Tianqing naturally came to greet him. After all, Lin Song was the peak master of Long Herb Peak and a general realm expert. With such an identity, he would be respected no matter where he went. This is the head of the Li family. Greetings, head of the Li family. Lin Yao cupped her hands and said. Normally, the head of an ordinary family would greet a disciple like Lin Yao. After all, Lin Yao was a disciple of the Fog Snow Pill sect. However, Lin Yao wasn't a fool. Seeing that there were so many experts in the Li family, she knew that the Li family wasn't simple. Please have a seat. Come, serve us some tea. Li Tianqing said. Zhongjiu is still cultivating. What's the result of this operation? Li Tianqing also knew that Lin Song went to chase after Li Changjiang. The experts of the Fog Snow Pill sect came out. The Black Zen sect could not even withstand a single blow. Back then, Lin Song was only ambushed by those people. In addition, these people's combat power was indeed higher than Lin Song's. After all, Lin Song was good at alchemy. However, when the experts of the Fog Snow Pill sect arrived, these people were killed by Lin Song's group without any hesitation. We've failed the head of the Li family. That Li Changjiang ran away. We only brought this back. Saying that, Lin Song also put a package on the table. It would be too ostentatious to carry a broken arm on the road. When he opened it, it was Li Changjiang's right arm. Li Tianqing looked at Li Changjiang's arm, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Although the two of them were considered cousins, it was absolutely intolerable to sell the family to an outsider and reap the benefits for himself. Li Tianqing had to cut such a traitor into 1,000 pieces. It wouldn't be too much for him to do that. He was taken away by a group of mysterious experts. Even we couldn't catch up with them. However, I don't think these people are from the vicinity. Family head, you should be careful in the future. Lin Song said. Yes, I understand now. Mr. Lin, you must have had a hard journey. Why don't you stay here for a few days and take a rest? Li Tianqing said. That sect still has some matters to deal with. Let the young master know that the quota has already been arranged. You just need to sign in at this peak in time. Lin Song said. Li Zhongjiu had mentioned the peak test before, so they had to make proper preparations. Originally, they were going to have a competition among the Long Herb peaks, and then select the strongest 5 to participate in the competition on the 3 main peaks. Of course, the Long Herb peak was usually at the bottom. Since Li Zhongjiu had the peak master of the Long Herb peak as his underling, he only needed to move his fingers. Therefore, Li Zhongjiu was directly selected to participate in the peak test. As for the competition on the main peak, Li Zhongjiu had to participate in it himself. Even the peak master of the Long Herb peak did not have such authority. After all, such a large sect naturally needed such a fair and just environment. Okay. Li Tianqing also stood up to see Lin Song off. Li Tianqing did not know the relationship between Lin Song and Li Zhongjiu. If he knew, he would definitely be shocked. However, Lin Song now knew the potential of Li Zhongjiu. In addition, Li Zhongjiu had saved his life twice, and this girl's life. No matter what, this debt of gratitude could not be repaid. In the future, if you have any problems, you can send someone to the Long Herb Peak to look for me. In addition, the amount of elixirs provided by the Long Herb Peak will be increased by 3 times. Apart from the cost of materials, there will be no other fees. Lin Song said. Hearing Lin Song's words, Li Tianqing was really shocked. What did it mean? It meant that the Long Herb Peak would be helping the Li family to refine elixirs for free. To build such an elixir production empire, the alchemists of the Li family were far from enough. However, if the Long Herb Peak of the Wuxia alchemy sect were to help, the efficiency would be completely different. In that case, thank you very much, Peak Master. Li Tianqing was so excited that he almost knelt down to Lin Song. Fortunately, Lin Song's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast enough to pull Li Tianqing back. Otherwise, if Li Tianqing knelt down, Lin Song's life would be taken away. How could Li Zhongjiu let him leave here alive? The Li family saved my life. These things are not worth mentioning. There will be many opportunities for cooperation in the future. Yes, yes, yes. There will be many opportunities, many opportunities. Li Tianqing laughed heartily. The source of the elixirs was found. There was also a direction to sell the elixirs. For the Li family, they only needed to sit and count the money. This kind of thing really made people envious. However, to link up this line, it was really impossible without the Li family and Li Zhongjiu. Now, the industrial chain in the Luoxia city could be regarded as a preliminary link. There was still a lot of work to be done. The 2 white cranes were also transferred away by Lin Sung. Li Zongjiu had the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle, which was far more than the white crane. Moreover, the white crane also needed to return to the peak periodically to recuperate. Otherwise, the white crane would not be acclimatized. After all, the food it ate had to be extremely pure. Grandpa wants me to meet the head of the Li family just now. The head of the Li family is indeed extraordinary. However, it seems that he is still a little lacking if he wants to bring together such a crouching tiger and hidden dragon family. Lin Yao had been training outside all these years. In terms of eyesight, she was also very vicious and ruthless. Li Tianqing might not be an ordinary person, but he was definitely not better than an ordinary person. You didn't see the person I wanted to bring you. You should be able to see him next time. This person is the future of the Fog Elixir sect. He is the hope of our future. Lin Sung let out a long sigh. It could be said that he was full of admiration for Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu's ability and insight were not things that ordinary people could understand. It took him less than 10 days to do so. He had already integrated the market in the Wuxia city. He used those who needed to be used and killed those who needed to be killed. He was never soft-hearted or indecisive. At the same time, although the family itself was strong, it did not allow them to be idle. He directly created so much trouble for the family. He deliberately used these external enemies to bring a sense of crisis to the Li family. Only in this way would they know how to cultivate desperately. To become stronger. Born in sorrow and die in peace. Chapter 83. However, Li Zongjiu didn't think that way. He was just used to the way the evil lord acted in his previous life. As long as someone had the guts to provoke him, he wouldn't mind crippling them. No matter who they were, the outcome would be the same. Li Zongjiu would never treat his enemies differently. At dawn the next day, Li Zongjiu woke up from his cultivation. Speaking of which, the 3 innate origin spirits weren't able to help Li Zongjiu speed up his cultivation. Li Zongjiu also learned the top-notch body tempering technique brought by the Golden Dragon origin spirit when he was free. The cultivation of the ancient golden tyrannical body technique required perseverance. Only after a long period of tempering could the body be tempered into steel. Therefore, it wasn't an easy task to cultivate the ancient golden tyrannical body art to the pinnacle. In fact, it would take a longer time than Li Zongjiu's cultivation of Yuan energy to the sovereign realm. However, this was also a method to increase one's strength. Li Zongjiu came to the front of Xiaoya's house. Just yesterday, Li Zongjiu had imparted a cultivation method to control one's mental energy to Xiaoya. Ordinary people couldn't interfere with Xiaoya's situation. If she wanted to improve, she would have to increase her strength. Only when Xiaoya could control her mental energy with ease would she be able to survive. At the same time, it would allow Xiaoya to become a level 3 mental energy master, which was equivalent to a general realm expert. Such innate strength was something that ordinary people would be envious of. However, such innate strength also made it easy for Xiaoya to fall into a dangerous situation. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to escape this calamity. Before Li Zongjiu came close, he could already feel Xiaoya's mental energy permeating the surroundings. Even Li Zongjiu knew that every blade of grass and every tree in the courtyard had already become Xiaoya's property. She knew everything clearly. This is a genius. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu only had a little bit of luck and talent that surpassed ordinary people. Most of his achievements were obtained through Li Zongjiu's desperate efforts. However, Xiaoya had only spent a day and she had already mastered the mental strength training method. She could even be considered to be at the entry level. Li Zongjiu was completely shocked by the speed of his improvement. One had to admit that this genius was indeed a genius. A gentle breeze swept past. Xiaoya was dressed in white, and her long black hair was tied up behind her back. She walked in front of Li Zongjiu. Xiaoya thanks young master for saving me. The woman before him spoke. Her voice was clear and ethereal, causing one to feel as if they were in a secluded valley. Even Li Zongjiu's eyes were dazzled. This was the effect of mental strength. Unknowingly, it had already caused one to fall into Xiaoya's mental world. This wasn't Xiaoya showing off on purpose. In fact, Xiaoya had yet to master her own strength well. You're improving very quickly, but you can't be too hasty with your mental strength training. Before you completely master your own strength, you're not allowed to use your mental strength. Li Zongjiu said sternly. Xiaoya nodded. Her life was saved by Li Zongjiu. The elemental formula that she learned was also taught by Li Zongjiu. Therefore, there was nothing wrong with following Li Zongjiu's words. Furthermore, Xiaoya had already regarded herself as a member of the Li family. She had to stay to repay her debt of gratitude. Of course, before that, she had to find someone to take revenge on. She naturally had to take revenge for her father's death. Xiaoya, you're up so early. Young Master Li, you're up early too. Have you eaten breakfast? I just went out to buy fried dough sticks and buns. Do you want some? The person walking over from afar was Old He, who had returned with a bow and arrow. He was sweating profusely. In this group of people, Old He was also in charge of the archer's position. At the same time, he also made full use of this position. In terms of archery, Old He's strength was indisputable. It was just that his elemental energy was slightly weaker. Uncle He, Xiaoya called out. Old He was carrying a bag of buns and fried dough sticks in his hand. When he heard Xiaoya's call, he didn't have any reaction at first. However, he suddenly thought of something and stopped in his tracks. The breakfast in his hand also fell to the ground with a thud. You just. Xiaoya. You can speak now. Old He opened his eyes wide. Xiaoya was originally a lively, cute, and pure little girl. However, ever since the accident last time, when Xiaoya's voice was sealed, this caused Xiaoya to suffer from a strange illness of not being able to speak. The double blow caused Xiaoya to become a child with a lot on her mind. She was so young, but she had to endure so much pain. Even these uncles couldn't bear it. Yes. I've recovered. It's all because of the elemental formula that young Master Li taught me. At this point, she looked at Li Zongjiu with great gratitude. When she met Li Zongjiu's eyes that were as firm as a rock and as deep as the starry sky, she lowered her head shyly. It's really healed. Oh my God. Brother Li, I was wrong in the past. Xiaoya is indebted to you. If you need anything in the future, just let me know. I, Old He, will definitely do anything for you. Old He immediately patted his chest and said to Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu looked at Old He and seemed to have realized something. Old He immediately picked up the bun on the ground and hurriedly handed it to Li Zongjiu. Little brother, you haven't eaten yet, right? Come, take these. Hee, eat more, eat more. At this moment, Old He had completely forgotten about Li Zongjiu beating him up. What else could be more important than Xiaoya's recovery? They had been fighting and killing in the outside world for the sake of peace and security. Now that Xiaoya's condition had improved, it was the best news for them. Keep these for yourself. I'll return to the sect in a few days. Whether you want to leave or stay is up to you. After saying that, Li Zongjiu returned the bun to Old He. Hee, stay. Of course, we must stay. Li Zongjiu did not say much and turned to leave. First, he went to the alchemy hall to check on the morale of the alchemy hall. These days, the morale of the alchemy hall seemed a little strange under the leadership of Wang Jing. These alchemy hall disciples actually came to the wilderness to barbecue frequently. Sometimes, they even angered Li Yun and Li Jiuyan. They could not wait to strangle Wang Jing to death. The disciples of the alchemy hall were led around like this every day, neglecting their duties and delaying their alchemy. However, after this period of neglect, the disciples' control of fire had greatly improved. This was also the reason why Wang Jing had been able to survive until now. After inspecting the situation, Li Zongjiu also came to Li Tianqing's study. Next month is your grandfather's 70th birthday. I have to prepare some things. Oh right, Peak Master Lin Song said that you must remember to attend the peak test. Okay. How's Li Changjiang? He escaped. Peak Master Lin Song only had time to cut off his arm. According to him, the one who saved Li Changjiang was an outsider, not one of us. An outsider force? He had actually extended his hand all the way here. Good. An outsider dares to behave atrociously in my northwestern region. Li Changjiang will not be able to escape. Chapter 84. The current Li family had absolute authority in Luoxia city. After the last incident, Bai Wuhan and the others of the Bai family had thought it through. If they were to become enemies with the Li family, not to mention the future glory and wealth, after all, whether they could survive in the future would be a problem. Now, they were bound together with the Li family. If the Li family flourished, the Bai family would prosper. If the Li family declined, the Bai family would have to take the lead. Because of this, Bai Wuhan was doing his best to prepare for the establishment of the merchant union according to Bai Luoxue's instructions. To establish a merchant union, one must obtain the approval of the Shengyan dynasty's Ministry of Commerce. Only after the approval could they issue a decree to prove one's status. Bai family hall. Bai Wuhan was sitting upright. Bai Luoxue was second. It was enough to see how much influence Bai Luoxue had in the Bai family after her performance in the past few days. The Shengyan dynasty's Ministry of Commerce has issued a limited number of merchant union permits. Moreover, they stopped issuing them in March last year. The only way to obtain a merchant union permit is to acquire other merchant unions. Bai Luoxue said. Acquire other merchant unions. The difficulty of this was no different from developing the merchant union into an empire in the small Luoxia city. These words sounded reasonable, but in reality, it was an impossible task. If there was someone in Luoxia city who was qualified to acquire the merchant union, why would they still be stuck here? There was already a lot of discussion below. Bai Luoxue did not pay attention to these people's voices and continued to speak. In addition to the merchant union permit, in order to pass the assessment of the Ministry of Commerce, the merchant union must have at least 7 marshal-level experts. At the same time, they must pay a membership fee of 97 million gold yuan every year. 7 general-level powerhouses were keeping watch. A membership fee of 97 million gold yuan. This was clearly a joke. Ridiculous. My Bai family's quarterly revenue is only 6 to 7 million gold yuan. Just the membership fee alone is 97 million gold yuan. How can my Bai family afford it? 7 marshal-level powerhouses? Even if they searched the entire Luoxia city, they wouldn't be able to gather so much money. If they were to spend money to invite a yuan general-level expert, they would need at least 3 million gold coins for a month's worth of offerings. That's 36 million in a year. An elder in charge of the financial management of the family stood up and said. Just these visible financial expenditures were already 10 times or even 100 times more than what the Bai family could afford. There were still many things that could not be seen. After becoming a merchant alliance, just the various departments of the imperial court would need to be bribed. For example, if he did not bribe the Department of Commerce, where would he get the chance to operate? For the small Bai family, it was impossible for him to preside over the establishment of the merchant alliance. And the time that Li Zongjiu had given was only 1 year. 1 year might seem like a long time, but it wasn't enough to experience such a huge change. That's right. With our current business situation, it's as difficult as ascending to the heavens to meet the requirements to establish a business alliance. Bai Luoxue said. But after the Li family, we have the support of the resources of the Wuxia elixir sect. As long as we make good use of them, I'm confident that within half a year, the profits generated will no longer be a problem for us to establish a business alliance. Bai Luoxua's words, which were filled with confidence, caused the elders to open their mouths in shock. This little girl who was not even 20 years old. Where did she get the courage to say such words? Where did she get such lofty words? Where did she get such confidence? In fact, anyone would want to establish a foundation when they were young, to create their own empire and establish their own sky. But later on, they realized that such things were too difficult. Their initial thoughts were too naive. Then, their dreams were gradually buried by reality. Now, on Bai Luoxua, they saw her fighting spirit again. That burning impulse. If they wanted to expand their family and develop it into a 1,000-year-old family, they had to enter a state of desire. What could they achieve in their lifetime if they stayed in the small Luoxia city? By becoming an even more powerful existence and acquiring even more powerful Yuan arts, perhaps the elders of the Bai family would also be able to become Yuan general or even Yuan ancestor level powerhouses in their lifetime. It seemed uncertain, but if they didn't even have such thoughts, they were destined to never succeed in their lifetime. Elder Luoxua, what good plan do you have? Elder Bai Cheng said slowly. In the past, the elders of the Bai family would only address Bai Luoxua as an elder. But today, they directly addressed Bai Luoxua as an elder. This showed that they recognized Bai Luoxua's status and strength. It also showed that they treated Bai Luoxua as an equal. Elder Luoxua. The other elders' gazes gradually changed. Bai Luoxua looked at the gazes of these people and knew that she had finally convinced these stubborn old men. They had truly ignited their ambition and had the impulse to go all out. Some time ago, the Su family of Flying Cloud City contacted us. Given the Su family's strength, it wouldn't be difficult for them to become a member of the Merchant Union of Flying Cloud City. Once they join the Merchant Union, they will definitely make things difficult for us. Instead of waiting for death, why don't we take the initiative to attack? Bai Luoxua said indifferently. It was as if she had already trampled the Su family of Flying Cloud City under her feet. Bai Luoxua had even set her sights on the Merchant Union's permit in Flying Cloud City. The Bai family's elders were all startled by the gaze that was locked onto them. There are already no less than 5 Yuan general-level experts in the Su family. They also occupy a mining area. The Huang Yuan ore they use is an important material for forging Huang Yuan weapons. Even if they don't join the Merchant Union, they are already a tyrant. If we want to annex the Su family, we must snatch the Huang Yuan ore. Bai Wuheng said. When everyone heard the family head's words, they all felt as if a sharp sword was slowly being unsheathed. After all, Bai Wuheng was the head of the family and had done his best to ensure the safety of the Bai family. Everything was for the sake of developing in this safe environment. In this chaotic world, it was not easy to find a place to live. Therefore, it was rare to hear Bai Wuheng advocate an offensive stance. When they heard Bai Wuheng's words this time, the elders of the Bai family were all shocked. Obviously, the family head of the Bai family was ready to make a move and go all out. It's not like there's no way to get this Yellowstone ore. I heard that the miners in this Yellowstone ore were all forced by the Su family. If we start with these miners, we might have a chance. Another elder expressed his opinion on this matter. However, if we were to attack the Su family for no reason, it would be a little unjustified in terms of morality. This is not in accordance with the rules of the underworld. There were also elders who considered it more thoroughly. For no reason. The young master of the Li family, Li Zhongjiu, is not an easy person to deal with. In less than 3 days, the dispute will naturally begin. Bai Luoxua smiled mysteriously. The reason why she had planned all this was because Li Zhongjiu had kicked the door open. Chapter 85. Li Zhongjiu was refining pills in his courtyard. He couldn't be unfamiliar with the technique of refining pills. As for the alchemy hall, it was handed over to Wang Jing to manage. Although Wang Jing was a slippery person, but when it came to doing things, he was very serious. What's more, there was a level 3 golden-winged blue-tailed eagle watching the fatty every day. Since Wang Jing came to the Li family, he would come to take care of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle every day and bring it a lot of barbecue. Perhaps this was the deal between him and the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle, so it didn't directly kill Wang Jing in the sky. It seemed that the price was not small. Wang Jing also knew that even if he sneaked away, the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle would definitely not let him go. With the strength of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle, it wouldn't be difficult for it to find Wang Jing. Not to mention, he had already inquired about these heavenly king whales. It seemed that the biggest family in the city was the Li family. Many general-level experts came to seek refuge with the Li family. There was also a very powerful Bai family. They would often run to the Li family for meetings and whatnot every 2 to 3 days. It was obvious that they were discussing something when their skills were not as good as others. That was why such a situation would occur. This was a relatively humble attitude. Could it be that the Li family had already subdued the big Luoxia city? Wang Jing's intelligence-gathering ability was very good. On the second day, he knew the status of the Li family in the Luoxia city. Therefore, without a very good opportunity, Wang Jing would not leave easily. Otherwise, Wang Jing would be in trouble. Perhaps they would have already been killed while they were walking on the road. The Li family could be said to be able to cover the sky in the Luoxia city with one hand. Even the Sun family, which used to be one of the 4 great families, was now reduced to a second-rate family. Every month, most of their income would be handed over to the Li family. Either the Sun family would be destroyed, or they would obediently hand over the money. This was more cost-effective than being directly destroyed. These people of the Sun family could be said to be unable to recover after a setback. Now, the person in charge of the family head position. He didn't even know where this distant collateral relative came from. It was also the Li family who had deliberately supported him. Most of the direct descendants of the Sun family either fled or died. Just as Li Zhongjiu was at a critical point in his refining process. The smell of blood wafted over. Bang! The main door of the Li family was forced open by someone. Set it on fire. Burn it. Elder Su Huang from the Su clan waved his hand. Instantly, numerous flaming wine jars were thrown into the Li clan. Boom! Boom! The huge Li clan was instantly set ablaze with countless bonfires. The 4 guards who were guarding the door had already been placed on the ground. Looking at the wounds on their necks, they had been neatly cut off. That Li Zhongjiu, didn't he say that he wanted compensation from my Su family? My Su family has come with compensation. Is 20 yuan sure experts enough? Ha ha ha. Su Huang laughed heartily. His voice reverberated throughout the entire Li family, causing everyone to be able to hear it clearly. People from the Su clan. Not long ago, Li Zhongjiu had killed a deacon of the Su clan. The elders of the Li clan had heard about this matter. However, they didn't expect that these people would come so suddenly and directly kill their way in. They didn't even greet them. They were clearly here to rob them. The guards of the Li clan reacted quickly. A portion of them extinguished the fire, while Gu Xuanwu led the recently trained guards and rushed out. Su Huang and the rest had already killed their way in. It was really as Su Huang had said. 20 yuan-shi experts, all of them at the yuan-shi realm. To be able to have so many yuan-shi experts, to be able to gather so many people, this Su Huang of the Su clan could be considered formidable. Even in the past, the number of yuan-shi experts in the Li clan didn't exceed 5. This was the difference between a large city and a small city. With a casual wave of his hand, 20 yuan-shi experts would follow him. Although the majority of them were only at the second and third level of the yuan-shi realm, with very few of them at the fourth level of the Yuan-Shi realm. Generally speaking, those at the fourth level of the Yuan-Shi realm and above would have the opportunity to break through to the Yuan general realm. These people should be mercenaries recruited from the Flying Cloud City. They would do as they were paid. A single battle, a group fight, would earn them at least a few thousand gold coins. Every expert who didn't come would come. Moreover, everything obtained from the battle would all belong to them. Such a good thing was only for the strong. Moreover, with their strength, any 4 or 5 people could form a team and walk unhindered in Sunset City. With such easy money, each and every one of them rushed out. These were all people who were hired. In any case, the debt wouldn't be counted on them. Therefore, when they acted, they were usually very ruthless. Only by being extremely ruthless would others be afraid of you. Who are you? State your name. Gu Xuanwu walked out and first glanced at the corpses on the ground. These people killed as soon as they came in. If the people weren't dead, there would still be room for discussion. However, now that they were dead, the nature of the matter was different. Before Su Huang could open his mouth, a figure had already walked out from the backyard. Li Zongjiu's face was gloomy. The guards at the front immediately opened up a path for him. In terms of numbers, the Li family outnumbered the Su family. They surrounded the Su family's people. However, the Li family members didn't dare to make a move because the people in front of them were all Yuan-Shi experts. If they made a move, it would easily cause great casualties. If they rushed forward, they would only be courting death. However, the dignity of the Li family was here. They absolutely couldn't retreat. If they did, they would lose the face of the Li family. Young master. Young master. The guards all lowered their heads. As the guards of the Li family, they actually let people kill their way in. Zhu Yan and the others also appeared at the side. They had only been here for a few days and they actually encountered such a matter of killing their way into the Li family. If this kind of thing wasn't controlled well, it would lead to a massacre and a disaster. Such arrogance meant that they definitely looked down on the Li family, or that they were a power that the Li family couldn't afford to offend. However, Zhu Yan sized up the other party. Although there were quite a number of Yuan-Shi experts, they were uneven. Moreover, there was only one Yuan-Shi expert. To them, this was simply a piece of cake. They couldn't even defeat a level 3 Yuan beast in the back mountain. With such a lineup, where did they get the confidence to kill their way in? They were all very curious. You are Li Zongjiu. When Su Huang saw Li Zongjiu, he was also shocked. So young. He thought that it would be a young man. Who knew that it would be a teenager? So young, but already so vicious and merciless, learning how to kill. It seemed that this Li family's bad habits were also very serious. Thinking of this, Su Huang couldn't help but twist his body. I'm already prepared to take down Li Zongjiu and make the Li family members hand over the money. What are you waiting for? Close the door. Li Zongjiu roared angrily. The Li family's guard immediately understood. Close the door and start the massacre. Oh, you're pretty awesome. Close the door. Today, we brothers want to see who dares to come. Chapter 86. These hired mercenaries had lived their lives on the edge of the blade, and many of them had even experienced death. Therefore, when facing the Li family's guards, it was obvious that these guards had no fighting experience. Usually, at most, they would gather together and scare people. Then, at most, they would fight with some hooligans and hooligans. When it came to fighting to the death, these guards were far from it. After being roared by the mercenary, the guards couldn't help but become nervous. Motherfucker, you dare to be arrogant here, I'll fuck your grandpa. Gu Man directly picked up a 2-meter-long Guangong broadsword and was about to rush to the front to fight with these people. These guards were also spurred on, each and every one of them was full of vigor. Since these people were so arrogant and had already killed their way into the family, if they didn't take action. These people thought that the Li family was full of cowards. If they, as the Li family's guards, couldn't protect the family, then what was the use of them? Brothers, let's go. Both sides were about to engage in a bloody battle. Li Zongjiu didn't stop them. For a family to grow, it must go through blood and fire. If they couldn't climb out of this bloody pile of bones, how could they stand firm in the future battles? Just these people in front of them were enough to intimidate them. Then how could the Li family be carried forward? Flying arc blade. One of the mercenaries attacked, and the flying blade in his hand spun. Suddenly, the guards in the front row were all cut in their feet, and all of them fell to the ground with a plop. An. Gu Man waved the long blade in his hand, but this flying arc blade was also very sharp, and directly cut the Guangong broadsword in Gu Man's hand. Clang! With a loud bang, Gu Man decided to rely on his brute force and directly pounced towards the person who had attacked. These weapons were just blunt weapons used during training, and it was difficult to hurt the enemy, so it was better to use his hands. However, after the flying arc blade flew, it actually flew back. What? Gu Man's eyes revealed a trace of light. It was too late to withdraw. A bunch of trash, hee. The person who attacked looked at them coldly. In his eyes, these people were already a pile of dead people. This Gu Man in front of him was nothing more than an idiot with nothing but brute force. I'll kill you. There was an ominous glint in Gu Man's eyes. At this moment, he actually abandoned his defense and directly pounced towards the person who had attacked. Even if he was heavily injured, he had to take down the person in front of him. That person didn't think that Gu Man would be so stupid. That blade could have cut off his head, but he still rushed out. Could it be that he didn't have a brain? He didn't even need to fight back because he knew that before Gu Man could touch him, his head would have already fallen to the ground. Whoosh! Clang! Just at this moment, a sharp arrow flew over from afar, accurately deflecting the spinning flying arc blade. What? The one who attacked was a long-haired man. His flying arc blade had actually been locked onto by someone. When he looked over, Gu Man had already rushed in front of him, and a heavy punch came smashing down. Bang! The long-haired man's face was directly punched by Gu Man. The long-haired man only tilted his head slightly. Gu Man was startled. With the strength of his fist, even if it was a bull, it should have been knocked down by him. However, the long-haired man in front of him didn't have the slightest reaction. With your little strength, it's better for you to go home and drink milk. The long-haired man turned his head, and his ice-cold gaze stared at Gu Man. Then, he kicked Gu Man's stomach, sending him flying. Bang! Even if he didn't use the flying arc blade, the long-haired man's strength had already reached the 6th grade of the Yuan Master Realm. The people in front of him weren't a match for this long-haired man. This long-haired man was someone that Su Huang had paid a huge price to invite over. Don't underestimate this long-haired man. Although he looked thin and weak, the way he killed people was incomparably strange. So much so that one didn't even know when he had already killed them. Moreover, he was ruthless enough. That was the most important thing. From the current performance, this long-haired man was indeed very ruthless. Give me your life. After the long-haired man had sent Gu Man flying, he was also impatient to make a contribution. From his performance just now, it could be seen that Gu Man's strength had reached a certain level. Li Zongjiu, the youth in front of him, was the target of this operation. As long as they took down Li Zongjiu, these people would be at their mercy. Even if they didn't take down Li Zongjiu, these people wouldn't be a threat at all. Seeing the long-haired man pouncing towards Li Zongjiu, Gu Man didn't stop. Gu Xuanwu did not stop and immediately channeled his origin energy to attack the long-haired man. Zhu Yan also rushed over. Li Zongjiu was their benefactor. How could they let Li Zongjiu be captured by the enemy in front of them? Of course, they had to protect Li Zongjiu. However, no one expected that Li Zongjiu's speed would be faster than them. With a single step, no one was able to catch Li Zongjiu's figure. Gu Xuanwu suddenly turned his head and discovered that Li Zongjiu had already passed by him. On the opposite side, Su Huang also saw Li Zongjiu make his move. Overestimating yourself. Su Huang naturally saw the fluctuation of yuan power from Li Zongjiu, a grade 1 yuan master. To have such a cultivation at such an age was indeed something to be proud of. However, in front of this arc-wolf, he was only a little white rabbit jumping high. The long-haired man who was proficient in using the arc blade was called Arc-Wolf. Arc-Wolf naturally saw Li Zongjiu's move and sneered in his heart. This idiot thinks he's infallible. Then I'll let you know the difference between strength and strength. Arc-Wolf and Li Zongjiu's figures instantly collided. Li Zongjiu raised his hand, and then there was a bang. His fist collided with Arc-Wolf's. This power. How is this possible? Arc-Wolf originally wanted to heavily injure Li Zongjiu with a single punch. However, after colliding with Li Zongjiu's fist, he immediately discovered that something was wrong. How could Li Zongjiu's strength be so strong? Even the explosive power of Li Zongjiu's fist was a step faster than an ordinary person's. Boom! Arc-Wolf immediately felt a sharp pain in his arm. He saw that his arm had been pierced through. The bone in his arm had pierced through his shoulder. This caused Arc-Wolf to instantly feel pain. However, Arc-Wolf did not cry out. From this moment it was clear how strong these people's fighting quality was. Arc-Wolf also immediately came to his senses. This Li Zongjiu's strength was too strong. He did not have the upper hand in this exchange and had to quickly kill him. Subconsciously, he pulled out a dagger from his waist. With the dagger in his left hand, he directly slashed towards Li Zongjiu's neck. At this moment, he no longer cared about capturing and suppressing him alive. The most important thing was to kill the person in front of him. However, Arc-Wolf's intuition was very strong. Li Zongjiu's reaction was even faster. Before Arc-Wolf's blade approached, Li Zongjiu had already snatched the dagger from Arc-Wolf's hand. Then, with a backhand move, he stabbed the dagger into Arc-Wolf's left shoulder. Crash! Li Zongjiu's hand fiercely clattered, and immediately, more than half of the flesh on Arc-Wolf's left shoulder was directly dug out. Ah! This pain made Arc-Wolf unable to endure it any longer. He immediately knelt on the ground and roared in pain. Just as Arc-Wolf opened his mouth and roared in pain, Li Zongjiu also took the opportunity to stuff the dagger into Arc-Wolf's mouth. Gulp! A dagger was directly inserted into Arc-Wolf's throat. Arc-Wolf covered his throat and pointed at Li Zongjiu in front of him. He wanted to curse, but he found that he could not make a sound. His entire body fell to the ground, twitching in pain. Chapter 87. The most ruthless mercenary in the group, Arc-Wolf. Just like that, he fell to the ground. This Arc-Wolf never thought that he would actually lose to this youth. This youth was decisive. Even the elemental energy didn't gain any advantage over him. After fighting with Li Zongjiu, the people would always be surprised to find out that when Li Zongjiu killed them, it was always clean and efficient. There was not even a trace of Yuanli wasted. After a battle, they could only feel extremely weak Yuanli. It even made people suspect that even if he did not use Yuanli, he could still kill them. This completely subverted their imaginations. Could it be that this Yuanli was not the main character of China's battle? The Arc-Wolf that fell to the ground twitched for a while before it stopped moving. During this process, the blood that flowed out from the Arc-Wolf's body had already exceeded Li Zongjiu's shoes. I'll give you a chance. You can kill yourself now. Li Zongjiu looked at Su Huang, who was in front of him. This Su Huang was the only Yuan general expert. Apart from that, there were two other elders besides Su Huang who had not made a move yet. Their strength should be above this arch-wolf. Hee, young man, you're too confident. Everyone, listen up. The Li family killed my Su family's attendant. I, Su Huang, came here today to apprehend the murderer. If anyone obstructs me, I'll kill them all. Su Huang gave a low shout. The people behind him immediately became agitated and tightly grasped the weapons in their hands. When Li Zongjiu heard this, he coldly snorted. Give me a chance. I've already given you a chance. After he finished speaking, a loud shout rang out from the courtyard of the Li family. It seemed to pierce through the clouds. The injured guards were all pulled to the side. At this moment, an enormous figure descended from the sky. That enormous figure caused the eyes of the Su family members to be filled with fear. Third level Yuan beast. Kill all those at the Yuan Master realm. Li Zongjiu ordered. Gu Man, who had just been kicked away, crawled up once again and charged forward with a roar. Zhu Yan, Sha Lao, and the others also made their moves. As for Old Black, he was on top of the roof, continuously shooting arrows at the Manor Master. Xiao Yit did not make a move because Li Zongjiu had told her not to make a move easily. Ha! Gu Xuanwu also immediately rushed out, and chased after Su Huang in an instant. When this level 3 meta beast appeared, Su Huang already had a bad premonition. In addition, there were actually quite a few Yuan Master level experts in the Li family. On top of that, Gu Xuanwu, a general level expert, was also present. The people that Su Huang brought with him were simply not enough to kill. Li Zongjiu rushed to the front, holding a sharp sword in his hand. When he arrived in front of a person, he directly pierced the person's stomach. Moreover, it stirred the sword in the stomach, directly mincing the internal organs of the person in the stomach. When some of the Li family guards saw how ruthless and decisive Li Zongjiu was, they couldn't help but cast sidelong glances at Li Zongjiu. They were the young master of the Li family, but he was actually such a person. Against his enemies, he did not have the slightest bit of mercy. So much so that killing people felt as simple as chopping vegetables. When some of them saw how powerful the people of the Li family were, and how the level 3 meta beast had already sealed off their escape route, they immediately thought of retreating. More than half of their 20+ people died in an instant. When they wanted to escape, they did their best to open the door. Quick, open the door. Open the door quickly. A person covered in blood, holding a blade in one hand, roared loudly. His other hand had already been chopped off by Li Zongjiu. As he spoke, fresh blood continued to spurt out. Such a frightening and bloody scene was truly shocking. However, he and a few others were still heavily injured. It kept colliding with the ground in front of it. Seeing that the homicidal maniac Li Zongjiu was about to reach them, these people were instantly terrified. Quick, quick! There was a loud boom. The door was finally knocked open by one person. This lineup of less than 10 people fell out. Don't let a single one of them go. However, these people thought that they could leave after opening the door, but they realized that the scene in front of them was truly shocking. A large group of people in white martial attire, holding iron shields, long spears, and ropes. Their waists were tied with rattan armor. In the Shengyan dynasty, family guards were not allowed to be equipped with iron armor. In that case, it was equivalent to forming an army. However, defensive equipment like rattan armor was also very popular. It was the people of the Bai family. The leader, Bai Wuheng, was riding on a warhorse. He stared at these Yuanshi experts in front of him. With the strength of these people, they should not have ended up in such a sorry state. However, they were really frightened by Li Zongjiu and the others. It could even be said that they did not have any fighting spirit. No matter what, they were people who crawled out from hell. How could such a situation occur? Even Bai Wuheng was deeply shocked when he saw this scene. Plop, plop. Two heads fell to the ground. When Gu Xuanwu made his move, he did not have the slightest bit of scruples. He did not even show any mercy. The man's head was directly twisted off and thrown to the side with a clatter. The two people who died were the two elders of the Su family. When Su Huang, who was still fighting with the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle, saw this scene, he was immediately greatly shocked. However, even more was the shock and fear in his heart. You actually dared to kill the elders of my Su family. Li family, just wait to be exterminated. After Su Huang finished speaking, he turned around and prepared to escape. However, he was directly hit on the back by the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle's wing, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Then, he just happened to land in front of those mercenaries who wanted to escape. Once you leave the Li family's gate, you are openly committing murder. The dynasty's laws cannot be trampled on. A person who was rather quick-witted suddenly yelled out. Those mercenaries who were lying on the ground with heavy injuries, and some who were even half kneeling on the ground, all came to their senses. That's right, they were already on the street. If these people continued to attack, then they would be violating the dynasty's laws. The consequences would be extremely severe. It was precisely because of such a rule that Su Huang had directly brought people to kill their way into the Li family's courtyard. If they were to directly attack on the main road, then it would be very easy for people to talk about it, and allow the city lord's mansion or other people to have something to use against them. Su Huang had originally considered everything very thoroughly. However, it was precisely because of this consideration that he lost his own life. I will let those who can survive leave. Chapter 88. Li Zongjie walked out with his men. Facing these heavily injured mercenaries, he only said a few words indifferently. Then, he threw out a steel knife and it landed on the ground. These people immediately understood Li Zongjie's intention. He wanted them to kill each other. You want us to kill each other? We won't fall for it. Brothers, the dynasty's laws are first. Killing is against the law. Ah! Before this old man could finish his words, his throat was pierced by a sword. This sword was like a firecracker that ignited the remaining people. Instantly, a great battle broke out. Everyone also attacked the people around them. In just a few seconds, everyone had lost their lives in the midst of killing each other. They're all dead. Li Zongjie did not expect this. These people were so decisive and ruthless. They should have at least left someone alive. Young Master Li, why don't you hand this person over to us? We can use this as a pretext to make a fuss. Bai Luoxue stepped forward and said. The person she was referring to was Su Huang, who was sitting on the ground and was heavily injured. Su Huang did not dare to believe that there were so many experts in this small Li family. Moreover, there was even a level 3 Yuan beast. This was too much of a bully. It was extremely difficult to defeat a level 3 Yuan beast. Even if they were at the same level, it would be impossible. Moreover, this was a level 3 Yuan beast. It was obviously at the peak of level 3. Only a Sky Origin Ancestor powerhouse would be able to deal with it. Just this level 3 Yuan beast was enough for the Li family to move unhindered in Luoxia city. Even the strength of the Su family might not be a match for the Li family. There might not be anyone who could stand out and block this level 3 Yuan beast. What do you mean by, make a fuss? Li Zongjie could not help but ask. The Su family has a Huang Yuan or that we need to establish the merchant union. This person's life is the best reason. Bai Luoxue said confidently. Huang Yuan or? Is it in their Su family? There's no need to use this as a pretext. Today, I'll bring that Huang Yuan or over. Li Zongjie said calmly. The Su family had killed a member of the Li family. How could he let it go just like that? Li Zongjiu's tough attitude made by Luoxue and the others look at each other. Originally, according to the plan, with this delay and some tug-of-war, it would take about 10 days to half a month. If this plan did not succeed, it would take even longer. What surprised by Luoxue even more was that Li Zongjiu had directly chosen to take over this matter. Li Zongjiu said without hesitation. Stepping forward, he grabbed Su Huang and threw him onto the back of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle. Then, he pointed at Bai Luoxue. You, come with me. The rest of you, get ready to receive the yellow ore. Being called out by Li Zongjiu in public, Bai Luoxue did not know whether he was lucky or unlucky. If Li Zongjiu killed his way into the Su family and found that he was not strong enough, what would he do? Bai Luoxue would definitely not be able to escape. Therefore, if he went, he would have to stand on the same line as Li Zongjiu. However, Bai Luoxue did not hesitate. He directly leaped and landed on the back of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle. Young Master Li, we are willing to serve. Zhu Yan said. Li Zongjiu had cured Lilia, but he hadn't had the time to repay him. So now was the right time. Looking at these people, it seemed like they were really going to go all out. This was what Zhu Yan's mercenary team was best at. Follow the people from the Bai family and head to the mine. As his voice fell, Li Zongjiu, Bai Luoxue, and the heavily injured Su Huang had already soared into the sky. The speed of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle was very fast. It was worthy of being a top existence among the level 3 meta beasts. Li Tianqing had just exited from his cultivation state. Previously, when something like this happened in the Li family, the head of the family should have been the first to arrive. However, Li Zongjiu had appeared and resolved the matter directly. Therefore, Li Tianqing only found out about it later. When Li Tianqing rushed out, he just happened to see Li Zongjiu sitting on the back of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle soaring into the sky. Where is this brat going? Why is he in such a hurry? Li Tianqing could not help but say. Li Zongjiu's return this time had changed a lot. Although Li Tianqing also knew that Li Zongjiu's personality was definitely not an ordinary person in the future, he had never imagined that Li Zongjiu would be able to tame a level 3 meta beast. Furthermore, it seemed like he was going to settle some scores. Why are there so many dead people? Li Tianqing walked to the door and realized that his Li family had already experienced a great battle. As the head of the family, he was really ashamed of himself. Fortunately, there were elders to deal with the aftermath. They also told Li Tianqing what had happened. What? You're saying that the brat flew to Flying Cloud City alone to settle some scores with the Su family? Li Tianqing could not sit still after hearing the elder's words. No matter what, Flying Cloud City could be considered a true third-rate city. Although the Luoxia city where the Li family was located could barely be considered as a city, it was still barely holding on because there was nothing valuable in the surroundings, so it could only be self-sufficient. The comprehensive strength of Flying Cloud City was definitely more than 10 times that of Luoxia City. Although the Su family was not considered a big deal in Flying Cloud City, it was definitely not something that the Li family could provoke. Wasn't Bai Tianzhu and Su Tianfeng's childhood companions? At that time, it was because a branch family of the Su family came to Luoxia City to develop. Later on, they found that there was nothing to gain here, so they directly left with their people. There was nothing to develop. Of course, the Li family and other families were already deeply rooted here, so the market was even smaller. However, now, Li Zongjiu was going to face the true power of the Su family. This kind of existence was not a joke. Rest assured, Head Li. Since Mr. Li Tianzhu said so, he must have full confidence. Gu Xuanwu said. Li Zongjiu did not call Gu Xuanwu. After all, Gu Xuanwu promised to protect the Li family, not to help Li Zongjiu. In terms of morality, he could not violate the original moral principle. Of course, if Li Zongjiu had a request, Gu Xuanwu would not help. After all, Li Zongjiu saved his life and most importantly, gave him a chance. A chance to completely turn things around. It was not a life that could only be buried in the soil as it grew older. Chapter 89. That's the best. This kid. Can't he have a little bit of a plan when he does things? Li Tianqing was also having a headache. It was good to have such a promising son, but he was afraid that Li Zongjiu would accidentally provoke someone he couldn't afford to provoke. That would be a disaster for Li Zongjiu and even the Li family. However, Li Tianqing couldn't see through Li Zongjiu. It seemed like he had a way to deal with everything that happened. This was what surprised Li Tianqing the most. Looks like I have to train harder. Otherwise, who knows what kind of trouble this kid will cause. Now that Li Tianqing had obtained the Sky Blaze Lion King technique, he also had the opportunity to become a top expert. If he wanted to be the scapegoat after Li Zongjiu got into trouble, he could only continue to make breakthroughs and increase his strength. Only when the Li family was strong would it not matter what Li Zongjiu wanted to do. Li Zongjiu had defeated the most powerful enemy of the Li family when the Li family was in danger. Now, it could be said that they had overcome a difficult time. However, a family couldn't rely solely on Li Zongjiu to become strong. They had to become strong as a whole. This was the meaning of a family's existence. Only when the whole group became strong could they protect every part of the group. Other people would never dare to provoke them. This was the first time that Bai Luoxue had experienced riding on a level 3 meta beast. This was also the closest that Bai Luoxue had ever gotten to Li Zongjiu. She was only a few meters away from Li Zongjiu. It was hard to believe that the person who had almost single-handedly controlled the market situation in Wuxia city and had single-handedly broken the balance that had existed for decades was sitting in front of her. Moreover, he looked so young. This was what shocked Bai Luoxue. Looking at Li Zongjiu's face, which was full of immaturity, she couldn't help but wonder how Li Zongjiu could create such a storm. What kind of secret did Li Zongjiu possess? Bai Luoxue was extremely curious in her heart. However, when Li Zongjiu sat behind the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle, she realized that Li Zongjiu hadn't wasted any time. He had been cultivating this meta beast, absorbing meta force, and improving his strength. He's so hardworking. Bai Luoxue was also surprised by Li Zongjiu's attitude. Among those of the same age, Li Zongjiu's cultivation was already far ahead of his peers. He was obviously outstanding, but he was still so hardworking. Just as Bai Luoxue was staring at Li Zongjiu, a voice rang out. Li Zongjiu suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Bai Luoxue in front of him. Bai Luoxue immediately looked away in panic and looked at the scenery in the distance. At this moment, Bai Luoxue's heart was beating violently as if she couldn't control it. Putong, Putong. Are you suffering from altitude sickness? Li Zongjiu said with a frown. Altitude sickness? Was it because the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle was flying too high? Was that why she had such a reaction? No. No. In front, we're almost there, Bai Luoxue quickly said. At the same time, she tried her best to hide her embarrassment. However, Li Zongjiu was laughing in his heart. How is it possible for a teenage girl like you to put on an act in front of an old man like me who is thousands of years old? This little girl's thoughts couldn't be hidden from Li Zongjiu. However, Li Zongjiu had experienced too much in his previous life. In this life, he was prepared to leave all his energy for this family. In his previous life, he couldn't protect this family well. No matter how much he obtained, it was extremely empty and boring. Therefore, in this life, Li Zongjiu knew what was most important. In front of him, there were mountains surrounding it. This flying cloud city was like a crouching dragon in this mountain range. Although there were mountains around it, these mountains had been cleaned up long ago. Many animal husbandry operations were carried out here to feed meta beasts and plant spiritual herbs. Other than that, the surrounding mines and mineral veins had also found their owners. At the same time, there would often be explosions. This was because they needed to know if there were any mineral veins nearby that had yet to be excavated. The area of Flying Cloud City was almost 10 times that of Wuxia City. The number of people in the city was also very large. In the cities that Li Zongjiu had visited in his previous life, he had seen cities that were thousands of times bigger than this. Therefore, the scene in front of him didn't make Li Zongjiu feel anything. Instead, he felt that it was a little small. Even a group of people who walked out of such a junkyard-like place. They actually wanted to trample the Li family under their feet and knead them as they wished. Wasn't this a little too optimistic? Therefore, Li Zongjiu had to let these people know what was called real terror. On the contrary, Bai Luoxue, who was beside him, had a deeper feeling. Bai Luoxue was born in this small Luoxia city. However, ever since she walked out of Luoxia city and saw the outside world, she realized that Luoxia city was just a drop in the ocean. In order to reach a higher peak, one must first change one's realm, starting from one's horizons. If one's horizons were only able to see the mountain in front of them, one would never know that on the other side of the mountain, there were endless mountains and oceans. Li Zongjiu saw the ambition in Bai Luoxue's eyes. It wasn't desire, it was wildness. Bai Luoxue was clear about her own desires. She knew what she wanted and didn't pursue it blindly. If such a person succeeded, her name would definitely shake the world and create a glorious history. However, there were usually very few people who succeeded. If she failed, she would die. Boom! Flying Cloud City was just a short distance away. The level 3 meta beast, golden-winged blue-tailed eagle, brought great fear to the city guards below. They even became nervous and wanted to shoot down the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle. After all, Flying Cloud City was a big city. There were rules in a city. Even if you were a cultivation expert. How dare you ignore the flight restriction order? Shoot down this bird's egg. The general of the Flying Cloud City shouted. Just as the general of Flying Cloud City was about to give the order to attack, a ray of light suddenly descended from the sky and landed precisely in the general's hand. Oh no, it's the Su family's elder. Put it away, put it away. When the general of Flying Cloud City saw the token in his hand, he was startled. Currently, Flying Cloud City's Su family was in the limelight. Recently, they seemed to have caused a lot of trouble and were more active. If Flying Cloud City joined the Merchant Union, its status would definitely rise. Most of Flying Cloud City's taxes came from the contributions of the Merchant Union. Only when the Merchant Union grew stronger would Flying Cloud City become more powerful. Sometimes, these two things complemented each other. In fact, some of the real big business alliances had terrifying financial resources. It was not even a problem for them to control the operation of a city. Bribing from top to bottom was just a difference in numbers. Chapter 90. In order to obtain the qualifications to join the Di Xian Merchant Alliance, the Su family had spent a lot of money in various aspects. Therefore, the leader of the city guards had no choice but to give face and let the people above pass. Let them pass. The leader waved his hand, and everyone put down their weapons. To them, this was something that they could simply turn a blind eye to. Hence, even under such circumstances, they could tell that the other party's Yuan beast was extraordinary just by sensing its aura. If a conflict really broke out, they might get hurt. Since that was the case, they might as well give face and let them pass. Bai Luoxue heaved a sigh of relief. If a conflict broke out with the city guards, it would not be settled so easily. It was very likely that it would involve a higher level. Li Zongjiu did not make a move. To be honest, Li Zongjiu was not in the mood to deal with these people. However, it was also a good thing that he did not have to make a move. Li Zongjiu was not a homicidal maniac who went around provoking people and killing them when he had nothing to do. This was not Li Zhongjiu's style. We don't know where the Su family is located. Although Bai Luoxue had been to Flying Cloud City before, she was not sure where the Su family was located. She could only observe from high up in the sky. What's wrong with this bird? It has already flown 3 rounds in the sky. Could it be that it doesn't know where its home is? Or is this guy showing off on purpose? That's right, it must be the Su family's scheme. The guard on the city wall could not help but say. The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle circled in the sky as if it was showing the people of Flying Cloud City that it was a level 3 meta beast. Many people with good eyesight could tell that it was a level 3 meta beast. A person who was powerful enough to tame a level 3 meta beast. How powerful was he? This was another key point that was extremely terrifying to think about. In the Su family patriarch and a group of elders gathered together and looked up at the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle circling in the sky. I don't know where this eagle came from. It's a level 3 primal beast. Who would be so generous to invite such an expert over? Could it be the Huang family? This isn't the first time that the Huang family has obstructed my Su family's development. Looks like if I successfully enter the Di Xian Merchant Alliance this time around, I will definitely destroy the Huang family. The head of the Su family, Su Yuliang, said in a deep voice. However, this golden-winged blue-tailed eagle was clearly not invited by the Huang family. With the Huang family's standard, it was obviously impossible for them to invite a level 3 meta beast. Otherwise, they would not have been in a stalemate with the Su family for so long. There was a limit to the number of members the Merchant Alliance could take in. Now that there was an empty seat, it gave the Su family an opportunity. However, this opportunity was only because the Su family had the highest chance of winning. It did not mean that the others were not tempted. The Huang family was one of them. They were also a big competitor. However, their competitiveness was decreasing day by day. The Su family no longer placed him in their eyes. Family head, that level 3 meta beast seems to be flying towards us. An elder said. Su Yuliang also saw it, but at this moment, he still couldn't believe what he saw. Fuck, they're really coming for us. Could it really be invited by the Huang family? Before the people of the Su family could react, a strong gust of wind blew past them. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept across the sky above the Su family. The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle flapped its wings, setting off a terrifying tremor that immediately made the elders of the Su family unable to stand firm. One by one, they fell to the ground. Boom! Waves of dust filled the air, and a terrifying aura swept across the sky. The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle calmly pecked at its feathers. This flight was smooth, but this was a human territory, and there was a lot of dust. Su Yuliang also composed himself. The other party did not directly launch an attack. From this point of view, he still didn't know what they were here for. Who dares to trespass into the territory of the Su family? Tell me your name. Su Yuliang said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. The aura of an origin general was also released. It caused the panicked and chaotic emotions of the entire Su family to slowly calm down. This was the first person to come down from the back of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle. It was the second elder of the Su family, Su Huang. Bang! Su Huang's face directly smashed into the ground. A loud sound rang out. He could only see Su Huang's body twitching slightly, but he didn't see Su Huang crawl up. It's the second elder. Elder Su Huang. When they saw Elder Su Huang lying on the ground with his life and death unknown, at this very moment, the emotions in everyone's hearts were different from one another. As the saying goes, some people are happy, while others are sad. Su Huang's enemy elder was naturally happy. No matter what, Su Huang seemed to have offended someone incredible. Now that he was sent back after being beaten to such a state, it was obvious that they were here to denounce him. As for those who stood behind Su Huang and were in his faction, each and every one of them had a bitter expression on their faces, appearing extremely gloomy. After all, Su Huang had been beaten to such a state, and the other party had directly come to find him. This meant that they weren't afraid of him, and Elder Su Huang had to take full responsibility. In any case, Su Huang's faction was most likely out of luck. When Su Yuliang saw that the one who had fallen was Su Huang, his aura had already sunk to the bottom. However, the most important thing was that the person before him was obviously aggressive. As for how to deal with him, he had to first see what the other party's intentions were. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two more figures floated down from the sky. A male and a female. From the looks of it, they seemed to be a couple. However, from the expressions on their faces, that didn't seem to be the case. However, after the two of them landed, they brought about a strange change to the scene. Two children. They had thought that the one who had landed from the back of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle would be an old fellow over 50 years old. Only an old fellow like that, an old monster, would be able to tame a rank 3 origin beast. Only someone like that would have such a cultivation. They weren't like Li Zongjiu and Bai Luoxue, who only had such an attitude. It was truly shocking. Never in their wildest dreams would they have thought that the ones who had come were actually two children. Who is the head of the Su family? Li Zongjiu took a step forward and said. Bai Luoxue was also extremely shocked when she heard that. However, at this very moment, she could only stand to the side and listen. Descending with such an attitude had already brought about an enormous shock to them. When Li Zongjiu spoke, that was the aura and attitude of a tyrant. He directly questioned the head of the Su family. Even if Bai Wuhan came, he might not have the courage or the aura to do so. Su Yuliang lifted his eyelids. An elder behind him immediately took a step forward. How dare you? As the elder's voice faded, Li Zongjiu also looked at him. You are the head of the Su family. I am the third elder of the Su family, Su Gui. Su Gui, your mother. Li Zongjiu cursed. Before Su Gui could even get angry, he had already seen the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle raise its tail. Boom! A bolt of lightning exploded from the tail. With a loud boom, the elder's chest was directly charred black by the explosion. Bang! The elder's figure flew out and fell heavily to the ground. With Su Gui's strength, he was able to sit in the position of the third elder of the Su family. His origin power cultivation had already reached the peak of the 9th grade Yuan Master realm. No matter how weak he was, he shouldn't have been defeated by this blow. However, the origin power shield didn't have any effect. I'll ask again, who is the head of the Su family? Otherwise, I'll start a massacre. Li Zongjiu said indifferently again. Chapter 91. Some Su family disciples hurriedly went to check on Elder Su Gui's condition. They discovered that Su Gui's aura was extremely weak. It wouldn't be easy for him to wake up at this moment. Even if he recovered, his cultivation would have been reduced to nothingness by the lightning just now. Li Zongjiu was so vicious. Su Yuliang couldn't sit still any longer and immediately walked out. I'm the head of the Su family. Su Yuliang. You came to my Su family and injured my family's elder. Shouldn't you give me an explanation and ask your family's leader to come out? Su Yuliang glanced at his surroundings. He was afraid that the real owner of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle was hiding somewhere. For safety's sake, he let these two people come out to be scapegoats. Su Yuliang, right? This is your man. Li Zongjiu directly ignored Su Yuliang's words and directly called him by his name. He didn't give him any face at all. Then, he kicked Su Huang, who was in front of him, towards Su Yuliang. Su Huang flipped a few times and finally landed in front of Su Yuliang with a plop. There weren't many people who could make Li Zongjiu give him face. Su Yuliang's eyelids twitched severely. Where did this brat come from? However, compared to Su Huang, who landed in front of him, he was seriously injured and unconscious. Quickly take him away for treatment. This is Elder Su Huang of my Su family. Su Yuliang said to Li Zongjiu. I don't know who the two of you are. If my Su family's elder has offended your elders, my Su family will naturally apologize. However, aren't you a little too heavy-handed? Today, even if you have origin beasts protecting you, you still have to give my Su family an explanation. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving. Regardless of the identity of this person, as long as he was here today, he actually dared to disregard the dignity of the Su family and wantonly trampled on them. It was as if he didn't put them in his eyes. Su Yuliang definitely wouldn't allow this. The dignity of a family was something that needed to be protected with one's life. Your elder killed 4 of my Li family's guards. Tell me, how are you going to compensate us? Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Bai Luoxue was shocked. You killed 4 of the Li family's guards, but you killed one of their elders as soon as you arrived. Compared to the elder's life, the guard's life was still more valuable. There was no doubt about that. Of course, in Li Zongjiu's eyes, the lives of the Li family's guards were more valuable. It was worth it for the family to have such a young master. It was worth risking his life for such a family. Li family? Su Yuliang was puzzled at first. There were quite a few Li clans, but within this city, he had never heard of any relatively powerful Li clans. If there was really a Li clan, then there was a Li clan in a second-tier city that was tens of thousands of miles away. No matter how much of a scoundrel the Su family elder was, no matter how unreasonable and overbearing he was, it was impossible for him to travel tens of thousands of kilometers just to kill your guards. Sunset City, Li clan. Bai Luoxue stepped forward and added. If it was just the Li family, it was indeed difficult for the Su family to remember which one it was. Luoxia City? Wasn't Luoxia City a poor and destitute place? In that case, there was indeed a Li clan in Luoxia City. However, even if the 4 major clans of Luoxia City were to join forces, they would still be no match for the Su family. How would they dare to touch the Su family's beard? Unless the Fog Snow Alchemy sect supported the Li clan. The Fog Snow Alchemy sect was the #1 sect within 1,000 miles. Its reputation wasn't weak, but it just happened to be in front of Flying Cloud City. There were other sects above Flying Cloud City. Even if the Fog Snow Alchemy sect came, they would have to stand aside. They entered the house and called for help. And this small Li clan actually dared to casually ride a meta beast and think that they could step on top of their heads. It turned out that they were from the Li clan. Sunset City's Li clan. Hehe, not to mention that you killed my Su family elder, so what if my Su family members killed your guards? Not to mention your guards, even if they killed your patriarch, what could you do? I think you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. How dare you break into my Su family's territory and behave atrociously? Su Yuliang immediately snorted coldly. Since he had already figured it out, there was no need to wait any longer. Capture these 2 for me. Su Yuliang shouted. Immediately, the surrounding guards who were ready to go immediately rushed out with a swoosh. Beep. The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle also flapped its wings. Suddenly, a gust of wind whistled, and a powerful force directly blasted the Su family guards away. Since you don't want to talk, then let's start a massacre. Li Zongjiu said. The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle instantly entered a berserk state. A terrifying force suddenly erupted. With a flap of its wings, it was as if the force of 10,000 caddies was pushing in all directions. Even some of the Yuan master-level guards were instantly smashed away. They flew back hundreds of meters and finally landed in a pile of ruins with a boom. The walls and houses of the Su family also collapsed at this moment. Kill this beast for me. Su Yuliang shouted. The only ones who could fight against the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle were the first elder and a helper of the Su family. Originally, the second elder, Su Huang, also possessed the strength of a Yuan general, but he had already been crippled by Li Zongjiu. This was extremely awkward. The two Yuan general experts immediately released their auras. Boom! The figure of one of them was like a 1,000-year-old tree. The surrounding Yuan power protecting his body was actually like an unshakable mountain. Song Mountain Art. Immovable Mountain Art. This person's defense was extremely strong. No matter how the wind whistled by the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle, he still stood at the front and continued to charge forward. As for the person behind him, Yuan power was ready to be unleashed. When he approached the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle, he leapt into the air. Boom! 8-foot green vine art, binding force. This Yuan general level powerhouse cultivated the wood elemental formula. The green vine power that erupted from his body had already reached 70 feet long and was already at its peak. This Yuan power howled as it swept towards the neck of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle. Once one was bound by the green vines, one would be strangled to death. The power of the green vines grew and multiplied endlessly. It was simply impossible to shake them off. However, the two of them had truly underestimated the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle. It was an overlord among the level 3 meta beasts. The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle's experience in life and death battles, as well as the scenes it had seen, was far more experienced than these people. Boom! The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle used its wings to block the power of the green vines in front of it. However, the power of the green vines only wrapped around its wings. Then, it abruptly stepped forward, raised its claws, and viciously stomped downwards. Oh no! First Elder Su Hui, who was using the immovable mountain technique, immediately widened his eyes. In the next second, the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle's claws came down and with a bang, Su Hui was forcefully stomped into the ground. Chapter 92. First Elder. First Elder. The many elders of the Su family cried out in alarm. They never imagined that this meta beast would be so ferocious. How did these people control such a ferocious meta beast? Su Youliang's pupils also shrank. When he saw his clan's great elder being trampled into the ground, his heart was also extremely shocked. Wait! Su Youliang immediately raised his hands and hurriedly shouted. However, the other wing of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle had already swept out and slapped the Yuan general-level consecrator away. Bang! The consecrator's figure was sent flying. His body crashed into the wall with a thud, and at the same time, his body was smashed into pieces. Such an outcome was indeed quite miserable. It was only then that the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle stopped and stared blankly at Li Zongjiu in front of it, as if asking if it should continue. Li Zongjiu waved his hand, indicating for the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle to stop. This scene was also seen by Su Youliang. This golden-winged blue-tailed eagle actually listened to Li Zongjiu's orders. This was truly shocking. What ability did Li Zongjiu have to be able to subdue this golden-winged blue-tailed eagle? What? Have you thought about what compensation you want? Li Zongjiu said indifferently. These people generally wouldn't shed tears until they saw the coffin. If he didn't know the difference between them and him, they wouldn't believe that they were already under someone else's control. Therefore, Li Zongjiu ordered the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle to attack and directly cripple these two people. These two strongest people couldn't even withstand a single blow from the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle. Two Yuan general-level powerhouses were both defeated. This was also what shocked Su Youliang. Although the Su family had a trump card, if this matter could be easily resolved, it wouldn't be so complicated. If Elder Su Huang really killed the Li family's guards, my Su family is willing to compensate for the loss. How about 500,000 gold coins for each person? Su Youliang said in a deep voice. This price was already very good. If an ordinary guard died in battle, the settlement fee would only be a few tens of thousands of gold coins. However, Su Yuliang knew that the person in front of him was not simple. Therefore, when he made his move, he also hoped to use this high price to force this country bumpkin to back off. These country bumpkins had never seen much of the world. This bit of money was enough to get rid of them. Everything could wait until he joined the Di Xian Merchant Alliance. When the time came, there would be plenty of ways to get the money back. This was also Su Yuliang's plan. 500,000 gold coins per person. 4 people, that would be 2 million gold coins. This single move was equivalent to half a year's worth of income for the Bai clan. However, Bai Luoxue wasn't tempted by this amount of money at all. In her opinion, this amount of money was far from enough. It was even more insufficient for Li Zongjiu. 500,000 gold coins was enough to kill a person. Then you can count how many people you have in your Su family. Kill as many as you want, and I'll compensate you. Li Zongjiu sneered and said. The meaning of these words was very clear. Su Yuliang also knew that Li Zongjiu was here to cause trouble, not to ask for compensation. Damn it, where did this troublesome guy come from? Then what do you think, sir? Su Youhu suppressed the anger in his heart and even wanted to curse out loud. He wanted to know what Li Zongjiu was here for. What exactly did he want? Since you're so sincere, your Su family will compensate us with 70 million gold coins. Also, I heard that you have a piece of yellow ore. It's also ours. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. 70 million gold coins. This was an exorbitant demand. Even if he killed the head of the Li family, he didn't need to compensate so much money. 70 million gold coins was one thing, but he actually wanted the Su family's yellow ore. The yellow ore was the lifeline of the Su family. In order to obtain the mining rights, the family had expended a lot of resources. Fortunately, they had obtained it in the end. The reason why the Su family was able to grow to its current scale was all due to the contribution of the Huang Yuan ore. The yellow ore's safety was guaranteed by the presence of 2 great Yuan general-level powerhouses. So you are after the Su family's yellow ore. Young man, I don't care who is behind you, but I advise you to give up on this idea. Otherwise, even a level 3 Yuan beast won't be able to save your life. Su Yuliang said in a deep voice. Does that mean that our negotiation has fallen through? Li Zongjiu said casually, as if he didn't take Su Yuliang's threat seriously at all. He even felt as if he had completely disregarded Su Yuliang's words. In the eyes of such a person, as long as one gave him what he needed, everything would be fine. However, if one continued to persist in going about things the wrong way, one shouldn't blame Li Zongjiu for going on a killing spree. You're only relying on that old zombie at the back of the mountain. I'll give you some time to get him to come out. Li Zongjiu said. When Li Zongjiu released his mind power, he already knew that the Su family had someone who was also at the peak of the Yuan general grade. He could even be considered a half-step origin ancestor powerhouse. However, the life force of this half-step Yuan ancestor powerhouse was extremely weak. Therefore, he could only use seclusion to prolong his life. He would only disappear when there was another person in the Su family who could support the Su family or help the Su family avoid this calamity. However, the 2 Yuan general-level powerhouses had been defeated just like that. In that case, there was nothing more to say. The only way was to summon the patriarch. Hurry up and get the patriarch to come out. Su Yuliang said to the elder behind him. Su Yuliang himself stayed behind and stared at Li Zongjiu. He couldn't wait to kill Li Zongjiu. At the same time, Su Yuliang secretly gave a secret signal to someone. One of his subordinates immediately understood. He was going to look for reinforcements from the Di Xian Alliance. The reason he had the opportunity to enter the Di Xian Alliance was because he had a relationship with the people in the alliance. Now that he was facing such a crisis, he had no choice but to use this relationship. I see that you guys are a little slow. Why don't I help you? Li Zongjio snapped his fingers. Then, the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle soared into the sky and quickly flew in the direction of the back of the mountain. Before the elder could reach the back of the mountain, he already saw a bolt of lightning heading towards the forbidden area. Boom! With a loud sound, wind and thunder surged and gravel flew everywhere. The dust that filled the sky soared into the sky. Chapter 93. How strong was the lightning on the tail of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle? Li Zongjio had never tested it before, but the lightning released by the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle had blasted the mountain in front of him into smithereens. Amidst the tens of thousands of rock fragments, a figure suddenly flew out from the ruins. When he landed on the ground, he was incomparably shocked. Someone actually dared to attack me. Could it be that the Su family has been exterminated? The old man, who had just flown out, seemed to be confused about the situation. When he saw the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle in the sky, he was also shocked. You feathered beast, how dare you be so impudent in front of me? The ancestor of the Su family, who had just appeared, immediately roared and charged towards the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle. Boom! The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle flapped its wings and directly shattered the terrifying aura that was charging towards it. However, under the impact, several feathers of the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle were shaken off. He saw his ancestor fighting with the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle. Su Yuliang also had a plan in mind. Take these two down. Another group of guards rushed out. Bai Luoxue was shocked. Were they going to engage in a close combat? The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle alone was not enough to intimidate the Su family. After all, the Su family only needed to be held back a little. Now, there was an opportunity to deal with Li Zongjio and Bai Luoxue. Do you have a sword? There were already more than 10 people rushing towards Li Zongjio and the others. Only then did Bai Luoxue hear Li Zongjio's words. Sword? Are you kidding me? Don't you usually carry a weapon when you go out? As a cultivator of elemental energy, he would at least need to carry some defensive items on his body. I only have an embroidered sword here. It's used for ornamental purposes. Bai Luoxue said in a daze. Then, she took out a sword from her interspatial ring. The so-called embroidered sword meant a sword for ornamental purposes. Ah. It's fine. Just make do with it for now. Li Zongjio also turned around to take a look and was shocked. Didn't the Bai clan auction things every day? How come a small elder like you only had so many things in your hands? He stretched out his hand and took the sword. It was forged in a similar way to an ordinary sword. In terms of weight and feel, it could be considered a normal weapon. However, in terms of material, it was completely carved from a kind of ornamental stone. It was not made of gold or iron. Therefore, when the sword was unsheathed, it would be incomparably dazzling. In some situations, there would even be sword dance performances, and all of them would use this kind of sword. Therefore, when Li Zongjio unsheathed the sword, Su Yuliang's eyes widened, as if there were 10,000 horses galloping in the depths of his heart. What the fuck? Is this guy an idiot? However, Li Zongjio quickly used the sword in his hand to tell Su Yuliang that he was not a match for Su Yuliang. Who was the idiot here? At this moment, the guards who were charging forward were the elite troops of these families. They would not make a move until the very last moment. At this moment, they rushed out with a ferocious look in their eyes. Anyone who threatened the family would have to be dealt with. However, the sword in Li Zongjio's hand was too dazzling. Bai Luoxue also stood where she was, watching Li Zongjio waving the sword in his hand. As the sword swayed, she immediately felt a sword technique blossoming among the crowd. The light swayed and flew. It pierced into her eyes, and she could no longer open them and see clearly what was in front of her. Then, she felt as if there was a thin slit at her neck. Then, he felt that the blood in his body seemed to be gushing towards the thin slit on his neck. She reached out and touched it. It was extremely moist. After a while, her vision recovered. When she saw the moist thing in her hand, she was stunned. She was instantly stunned. This. My blood. My neck. She looked around and saw that the rest of her companions had the same fate. They all covered their necks and knelt on the ground. In the end, the blood flowed out of their necks, and they died just like that. More than 10 guards fell to the ground, crossing each other. At the same time, the blood flowed and gathered at Li Zongjiu's feet. Li Zongjiu reached out and made a grasping motion. The blood gathered into a thin line and flowed into his palm. The blood of young people contains so much energy. Li Zongjiu felt the blood in these young people. These people practiced martial arts all year round, and their bodies were strong. The blood beads condensed from their blood also had extremely strong vitality and recovery power. The blood gathered into a bloodline and fell into Li Zongjiu's hand. Looking at it, it gave people a kind of sinister feeling. It even made people's scalps tingle. Seeing this, Su Yuliang's eyes widened. In the blink of an eye, the 10 lively guards all had their throats slit by Li Zongjiu. This kind of strength was simply beyond imagination. Even the swordsmanship that Li Zongjiu had just displayed was exquisite. In Su Yuliang's eyes, it was also extremely exquisite. He couldn't even see how many moves were made clearly. To be able to display the embroidered sword to such a level. This young man must have a very deep understanding of the swordsmanship. The corpses of the 10 guards were instantly sucked dry by Li Zongjiu. The blood condensed into a blood bead in his hand. Such an evil technique. You have evil intentions. Walking on the path of evil at such a young age. Today, I, as an elder, will correct you. Immediately, several powerful elders joined forces to attack. These guards were already scared of being killed. Anyway, the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle was not here. Could this little Li Zongjiu fight against so many elders? It was impossible for Li Zongjiu to reach that level. Otherwise, all their years of cultivation would have been for naught. Elders, listen to my order. Form the heavenly jade killing formation. Finally, Su Yuliang decided to take action personally. He led the sword formation to take down Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu's strength was really too strange. First, he killed so many guards of the Su family. Then, he brought a level 3 primordial beast and was fighting a fierce battle with the ancestor. If Li Zongjiu was killed, the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle would definitely be severely injured. Moreover, if he captured Li Zongjiu, he would have a trump card in his hand that could be used for negotiation. He would personally lead the sword formation. Su Yuliang had never thought that there would be a day when he would attack a teenager, and he would be so cautious. Boom! Li Zongjiu took the lead and rushed directly into the sword formation formed by the 6 elders. Seeing Li Zongjiu walk into the trap, the elders all snorted. These elders also snorted coldly. Immediately, they mobilized the Yuan power in their bodies and attacked Li Zongjiu. Good timing. Li Zongjiu swung his fist and met the sword of one of the elders, smashing it fiercely. Chapter 94. On Li Zongjiu's fist, an obscure golden light emerged. However, the elder that Li Zongjiu was aiming at was disdainful. You want to use your fist to shake my black gold sword? If you succeed, I'll eat shit on the spot. The elder had a bad temper, but in the next second, Li Zongjiu's fist landed on the elder's black gold sword. Suddenly, a terrifying force spread and exploded. It directly surged into the elder's black gold sword. Boom! The elder's black gold sword suddenly flew out of his hand. The black gold sword that flew out was aimed at another elder. The elder cursed and had no choice but to free his hand to block the sword. In the next second, the hot-tempered elder saw Li Zongjiu's fist coming towards his eye. Bang! A sharp pain came from his nose. Li Zongjiu had broken the bridge of his nose. His eyes were bloodshot, and his ears were immediately filled with the sound of his own bones breaking. It was deafening. Li Zongjiu's fist not only knocked the elder's sword away, but also directly knocked him down. A 6th-grade Yuansha realm elder was knocked down by Li Zongjiu just like that. This kind of strength was simply unbelievable. Primeval Golden Palm. The two elders joined forces to attack. After all, there were so many people, and Li Zongjiu was trapped in the encirclement. If they were suppressed like this, then their Su family would not be able to show their faces. Before entering the business world, who wasn't a Jianhu person? In the past, they used to go around looking for people to fight, smash places, and collect protection fees. But now, they were at a higher level. However, if they really wanted to fight, even though they were a little restrained now, if they really wanted to be ruthless, even they would be afraid. Two waves of energy came from behind. Li Zongjiu could naturally dodge. However, Li Zongjiu wanted to test the power of his ancient tyrant golden body and see what kind of attack it could block. Bang bang! The two primeval chaos golden palms landed on Li Zongjiu's body at the same time, one on his back and the other on his head. Even if the palm strike from the back could not shatter one's internal organs, it could at least shatter one's shoulder blades. At the same time, this palm strike was enough to smash a normal person's head like a watermelon. Li Zongjiu was able to withstand the pressure from both palms at the same time. It was a bold move. Boom! The two forces surged into Li Zongjiu's body. However, as the ancient golden tyrant body art automatically circulated within his body, it actually refined the power of the two palms, causing Li Zongjiu's body to feel incomparably relaxed. Although Li Zongjiu felt extreme pain when he was struck by the palm on his back, he was able to suppress it very quickly. How could it not hurt when being hit? However, Li Zongjiu also successfully intercepted the destructive power of the two elders. He managed to protect himself. When the ancient golden tyrant body art circulated within his body, Li Zongjiu clearly felt that his strength seemed to have increased a little. What, this kid is fine. Impossible. The two elders saw that Li Zongjiu, who was under their palms, was not injured at all. There was not even the slightest bit of adverse reaction. They were immediately shocked. The elemental energy that Li Zongjiu had used seemed to have been devoured by a mouth that had grown out of his body. Retreat. The two elders saw that the situation was not good and immediately wanted to retreat. However, how could Li Zongjiu let them leave so easily? Too late. Li Zongjiu waved the seemingly useless embroidered sword in his hand and directly cut off the two elders' arms. Blood splattered dozens of meters high and finally fell to the ground with a plop. Even the fingers on their arms twitched a few times. Ah! My hand! Intense pain swept through the two elders, immediately bringing a great impact to them. Both of you, back off. Su Yuliang descended from the sky and slashed at Li Zongjiu with his sword. The sword aura spread out for dozens of meters. Li Zongjiu took a step back and actually stretched out his hand, directly grabbing the blade of the sword. The surrounding sword aura was nothing to Li Zongjiu. Even the two elders' close-range mixed yuan palm could not shake him in the slightest, let alone this mere sword aura. This guy, does he want to die? Seeing that Li Zongjiu actually dared to stand on the spot and use his fingers to grab the sword of the Yuan general-level powerhouse. This was by Luoxue's first reaction. Even if he wanted to act tough, he had to look at the situation. What was the point of acting tough in such a risky situation? Bai Luoxue's heart was almost in his throat, about to jump out of his throat. Su Youliang's sword had already descended. Boom! Li Zongjiu's two fingers firmly clamped down on Su Youliang's sword. Su Youliang's eyes widened. Li Zongjiu's actions were simply an insult to him, the head of the Su family. Under the long sword, Li Zhongzhou's eyes were filled with disdain and ridicule. You can't even grab the sword. The Su family is actually led by such a piece of trash. Li Zhongzhou laughed coldly. Su Yuliang immediately felt that the sword in his hand seemed to be controlled by a tyrannical force. Under this force, Su Yuliang could not even control his arm to lift the sword. This is mental energy. Mental energy could not be seen with the naked eye. Only those who also possessed mental energy could sense it. However, if you were controlled by an invisible and powerful force, then you would know how terrifying mental energy was. At this moment, Su Yuliang's heart was shaken. Whoosh! The sword in Su Yuliang's hand suddenly flew out, whistling as it flew forward, instantly piercing an elder of the Su family. Before the elder could react, he saw the sword piercing through his chest. Ugh! Blood instantly gushed up to his throat. Before he could say anything, he had already knelt on the ground. At this moment, another two elders rushed up and quickly sealed his acupoints. Only then did they save his life. Playing tricks. Even if you have mental energy, it's impossible for you to hurt me. You're only a grade 1 Yuan master. Su Yuliang roared. At this moment, Su Yuliang had a rough estimate of Li Zhongzhou's strength. When the elders heard that Li Zhongzhou was only a grade 1 Yuan master, they were shocked and did not dare to believe it. If Li Zhongzhou was only a grade 1 Yuan master, how could he be so difficult to deal with? The energy in Su Yuliang's body exploded, immediately turning into a mountain torrent as it swept towards Li Zhongzhou. Mayfly shakes the tree, stormy waves palm. Water attribute energy could also turn into the aura of 10,000 galloping horses. It was as if 10,000 elephants were trampling on a mountain. Blood extinguishing palm. Li Zhongzhou could not dodge this palm, so he circulated his energy. The blood dragon in his body woke up and roared as it rushed forward. Boom! Chapter 95. Li Zhongzhou's blood annihilation palm collided with his opponent's palm technique. In an instant, the powerful impact created an extremely shocking aura. Boom! Both of their yuan energies exploded wildly. Li Zhongzhou's figure was sent flying by a huge gust of wind. His entire body flew backward and landed on the ground with a loud boom. At this moment, he had already retreated a distance of more than 10 meters, barely stopping in front of Bai Luoxue. Bai Luoxue wanted to go forward and help Li Zhongzhou up. However, she could feel the surging energy within Li Zhongzhou's body. If she touched it carelessly, it would definitely spread to her body. However, the energy that Su Yuliang had unleashed had completely disappeared within Li Zhongzhou's body. It did not have any effect at all, as if it had been completely absorbed by Li Zhongzhou's body. This was incomparably shocking. Could it be that Li Zhongzhou's body was a monster? My palm. He looked at Su Yuliang, who was standing on the same spot and seemed to have the upper hand. At this moment, Su Yuliang was holding his own hand. Looking at his palm, he saw that the flesh and blood had already fallen off and was completely corroded. Now, all that was left of his palm was this white bone. How could a normal person not be shocked when such a horrifying thing happened to him? Patriarch, be careful. A sharp-eyed elder immediately drew out his sword and slashed at Su Yuliang's wrist. The neat incision was also revealed. At the same time, a large amount of blood spurted out from his wrist. Su Yuliang immediately covered his wrist and glared at the elder. Could this elder be a traitor? But soon, Su Yuliang saw that his hand had been chopped off, and a bit of his wrist was still there. It was completely corroded. If it had been just a little bit later, his entire arm would have been gone. What? Seeing this scene, Su Yuliang was completely shocked. What a vicious palm technique. Where did you learn such a vicious palm technique? Su Yuliang growled. How could he swallow his anger when his hand was broken by Li Zhongzhou? He looked at Li Zongjiu and saw that Li Zongjiu was not injured at all. This made Su Yuliang even angrier and even more shocked. Could it be that this fellow couldn't be killed? Even the patriarch was no match for this demon. In their opinion, Li Zongjiu's methods were methods that only demons could use. This level of strength was simply too terrifying. He couldn't believe that the entire Su family couldn't do anything to a mere youth. In this huge Su family, there was no deterrent force at all. Beep! In the sky, the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle suddenly let out a loud cry. Then, a violent electric light bloomed from its body and directly blasted towards the Su family's patriarch. It was as if the patriarch was locked on, and there was no way for him to dodge. With a boom, the powerful electric light hit the Su family's patriarch. The Su family's patriarch's body suddenly exploded in the sky. Boom! The Su family's patriarch, who was charred black, fell from the sky and smashed in front of everyone. The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle landed on the roof. It proudly shook its feathers. Even if it didn't land, it still brought a great impact to them. The great ancestor was actually defeated. Moreover, he was directly roasted to such a state. His fate was extremely miserable. They could even see the pain on the ancestor's face before he died. He seemed to want to scream, but at this time, his throat had already been burned to nothingness. Such a tragic end was placed in front of them. Gulp! An elder swallowed his saliva. Even Su Yuliang's eyes widened as he looked at the patriarch's corpse. At this moment, the person who went to the Di Xian alliance to ask for reinforcements returned. However, the expression on his face was very grave. After seeing such a tragic scene, he knew that the situation didn't improve. Even the patriarch was directly killed. Patriarch, the Mirror Moon Tower's master is not in the city, the elder said in a low voice. Just like that, the last straw was ruthlessly destroyed. What was the origin of the youth before them? Even the Mirror Moon Tower's master fled when she heard the news. She was not in the city, and anyone could tell that it was just an excuse. However, Su Yuliang never imagined that his army would be defeated like a landslide. His Su family's momentum was gone. I never thought that my Su family would suffer such a calamity and be directly annihilated like this. I can't accept this, Su Yuliang let out a long sigh. Patriarch, let's fight it out with him. No matter how strong he is, he's only one person. What's there to be arrogant about? A brave guard stood out and said. At this moment, loyalty and righteousness sounded very grating. Fight it out. What did they have to fight it out with? Since he dared to come alone and turn the Su family upside down, they should know that the Su family was simply no match for him. You. What's your name? Who exactly did my Su family lose to? Su Yuliang said as he stared at Li Zongjiu in front of him. Li family, Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu said. Su Yuliang also kept repeating this name. In the end, he trembled as he took out a jade token. This jade token represented the mining rights of the Xian Yuan ore. It was issued by the Shengyan dynasty. Whoever could obtain this token would have the mining rights of the Xian Yuan ore. However, this token was in his hand. Whether he could keep it or not would depend on his own ability. Anyway, the dynasty only looked at this token. There were even some black ores that were directly mined without a token. If they were not discovered, it would be fine. However, if they were discovered, they would be directly arrested and all their property confiscated. Therefore, the risk was very high. Everything in the Shengyan dynasty belonged to the Shengyan dynasty. Everything had to be reported to the higher-ups and put on records. Unless you could own your own land. Patriarch, you can't. Patriarch, you can't. I'd rather die in battle than hand over the Xian Yuan ore. Some elders and deacons of the family tried to persuade him. Their eyes were filled with hatred for Li Zongjiu. Of course, if these people were really sent to their deaths, they believed that not many of them would be willing to do so. All of you, shut up. My Su family was able to start over from scratch. Today, we can do it all over again. Li Zhongjiu, this time, my Su family admits defeat. This Xian Yuan or belongs to you. Then, the jade token that the Xian Yuan or belonged to was directly thrown to Li Zhongjiu. Li Zhongjiu reached out and caught it. He turned around and threw it to Bai Luoxue who was behind him. Bai Luoxue couldn't believe everything in front of her eyes. She actually obtained it so easily. It was easy to say, but in reality, it wasn't easy at all. It's true. Bai Luoxue said. I'll give you 2 days to evacuate everyone. As for the other 70 million gold coins, I'll come back next month to collect them. Chapter 96. Li Zhongjiu was a man of his words. Since he wanted the compensation of 70 million gold coins, he was truly going to take 70 million gold coins. This was no joke. Upon hearing Li Zhongjiu's words, Su Yuyang felt as if his teeth had been shattered and swallowed back into his stomach. No matter what, because of Li Zhongjiu's appearance today, his Su family's 30 years of hard work had all turned into nothingness in an instant. There was no way for them to make a comeback. If they did not follow the rules in Soaring Cloud City, it was extremely likely that they would be beaten back to their original state, or even completely eliminated. With the Su family's strength, they were able to gather 70 million gold coins. However, if they were to do so, it would be a huge blow to the Su family's vitality. What was the point of their hard work? It was to earn more money. Li Zhongjiu and Bai Luoxue once again rode on the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle and soared into the sky, leaving Soaring Cloud City. The matter of the Su family must have received a lot of attention. Based on the situation of the Su family just now, it seemed like they had been dealt with by someone. This golden-winged blue-tailed eagle was clearly looking for trouble. No one knew what kind of price the Su family had paid in the end. It was difficult for outsiders to know. However, it would not be long before the Su family's painful loss would be immediately known by the other factions in the city. Even the death of the ancestor had to be kept a secret. As for the other 2 Yuan general experts, they had to hurry and save them if they could. Otherwise, their Su family would really be unable to recover from this setback. With this jade token, this Huang Yuan or should not be a problem. Whether or not we can protect it will depend on your Bai family. Li Zhongjiu said. He could not leave everything to Li Zhongjiu. If that was the case, the Bai family would be useless. Li Zhongjiu could only step in and lead this matter onto the right path. At the same time, he could also remove some of the obstacles that were not very strong, so as to speed up their progress. Otherwise, if they kept waiting like this, how long would they have to wait before they could succeed? It was easy for Li Zhongjiu to strengthen himself. He only needed to find a place to hide in the mountains and cultivate for 40 to 50 years. Then, he would be able to recover at least 50 to 60% of his cultivation. Even Li Zhongjiu had a clear grasp of the general trend of the future. He knew which force to rely on and which sect to join. However, this was only enough to make Li Zhongjiu stronger. He wanted to make the whole family stronger. That was to increase the overall strength of the clan. Regardless of whether it was financial resources or the level of origin power, they had to increase in a straight line. This was a family. In the Shengyan dynasty, there were some millennium-old families that even primitive emperors did not dare to provoke. These families were Li Zhongjiu's target. Not only was he a millennium-old family, but he also wanted to surpass them. Don't worry. My Bai family is not useless. Bai Luoxue said. Although this was a challenge, and the speed of his footsteps was unimaginably fast, he didn't even have time to stop and rest. But only in this way could one's strength continue to break through. To become a top existence. It was never easy to build a strong family. Even in the situation where her parents had stopped for so long, if she could succeed, then it would be something that would truly prove herself. Alright, I'm going to cultivate. Li Zongjiu said. In the Su family, there were many blood pearls that were refined, and these blood pearls were filled with yuan energy. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu's origin power was of the fire attribute, just like his father. Later on, by chance, he awakened the wood attribute, which allowed Li Zongjiu to become a decent alchemist. Now that he was reborn, Li Zongjiu had already mastered the heavenly void divine form record, which was considered a great cheat. And now, Li Zongjiu's origin power attribute seemed to be more towards the blood demon attribute. This was a very strange mutated attribute. Is it because I killed too many people in my previous life? If the blood demon attribute is cultivated to the later stage, it is very likely to be devoured by the murderous aura. Li Zongjiu thought in his heart. Therefore, he wanted to suppress the blood demon aura in his body so that it would not be so arrogant. The only way to do that was to cultivate his mental strength in advance. Only then would he be able to control his own strength and control his own origin power. The power of the blood pearls poured into Li Zongjiu's body. Li Zongjiu suddenly felt a rather exuberant feeling, and the aura of his body immediately shook. Even the golden-winged blue-tailed eagle could not help but tremble. When Li Zongjiu's blood demon aura erupted, it would definitely reach a shocking level. This proved that Li Zongjiu was hiding a murderous god in the depths of his heart. The golden-winged blue-tailed eagle could not help but guess in its heart. Although it was a origin beast, it also had a brain. It could think things through and distinguish between actions. The only thing was that it could not speak human language. Just like humans, humans could not speak human language. Two people and a bird circled in the sky close to 10,000 meters, passing through countless layers of clouds. Facing the last ray of sunset, they finally returned to Wuxia city. Presumably, this was the most legendary period of time that Bai Luoxue had experienced. Apart from the time spent on the journey, Li Zongjiu was alone with a bird. It had not been more than 2 hours since they killed their way into the Su family. They did not even have time to drink a cup of tea. In just 2 hours, the Su family's efforts over the past 20 to 30 years had all been given up. It seemed very simple, as if they only needed to be powerful. But in fact, Bai Luoxue knew that it was not so simple. If Li Zongjiu had not been pressing them step by step from the beginning, he would have given Su Yuliang and the others a feeling that it was almost impossible for them to turn the tables. No matter how they resisted, they would not have a chance. It seemed that the only thing in front of them was the endless darkness that had cut off all their hope. If it were another person, it would definitely not have such an effect. Also, when Li Zongjiu made a move, he would never let them feel lucky. Every move he made was fatal. There would definitely be casualties when he made a move. This habit seemed to be innate to Li Zongjiu. It was difficult to guess and see through. After returning to the Bai family, Bai Luoxue recalled Li Zongjiu's performance. After a long time, she opened her eyes. There was a trace of shock in her eyes. Invulnerable. After recalling, Bai Luoxue felt that she had sucked in a breath of cold air. Because Li Zongjiu's attack did not give anyone a chance to breathe. Chapter 97. The situation in Wuxia city was stable, but there were many disturbances in the surroundings. In the Northern Medicine Alliance of the Northern Medicine City, Shang Quan's disappearance did not attract much attention. The world was so big, Shang Quan could go wherever she wanted, unless someone went to inform her, and even then, there had to be a certain number of people who received the news. Only then would people pay attention to it. But in fact, there were already people who noticed. However, this matter was temporarily suppressed. The method behind it was unknown to outsiders. Wuxia city was developing steadily. At the Foggy Snow Pill sect, there was also an annual event. This peak test could be considered as a kind of inspection of the cultivation results of the disciples in the past year. If you didn't make much progress in your cultivation this year, but you still won the competition, then you would be punished as well. Because you did not make any progress. If one wanted to become a disciple of this sect, it could be said that one had to work very hard. Otherwise, if one's master felt that one did not strive for improvement and was rather embarrassing, he would directly expel one from the sect. Then, one's life could be considered finished. There won't be any other sects coming to take you in. Even when he returned to his family, he was still harshly despised by others because of this. The sect was also a place where you learned to respect your master. Learning here was also a very important beginning in life. On the Crimson Afterglow Peak, the 50 feet tall stage had already been completed. This was the main arena, and only the disciple who won in the end could represent the 3 main peaks to participate in the competition. Those who could step on the black stone arena were already considered outstanding disciples. On the Long Medicine Peak, in front of the elder who was in charge of registration, there were also many disciples surrounding him. I can't accept it. How could that brat Li Zongjio directly get a ranking? He didn't even participate in the competition. That's right, there's a conspiracy. Elder, you must explain this to us clearly. Many disciples gathered in front of the elder, surrounding him so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. The message that a sect needed to convey was naturally to announce fairness and impartiality. Even if you wanted to cheat, you could not do it so obviously. But this time, it was too much. Li Zongjio, a disciple who had just joined the sect for less than a year, had become the #1 disciple of Long Herb Peak. Li Zongjio was the #1 disciple of Long Herb Peak. This was a little too much. And most importantly, senior sister Lin Yao, who was ranked 2nd, did not have any reaction at all. But who was Lin Yao? She was the granddaughter of the peak leader. She was beautiful, skilled, and had a strong background. There must be many little puppies following behind her. All of them were standing up for Lin Yao. We refuse to accept this. Our senior sister Lin Yao is in 1st place. What happened to the fair and open competition? Even if I have to be grounded, I will fight for justice for senior sister Lin Yao. These little puppies seem to be using all their strength to cry out for Lin Yao and fight for justice. However, Lin Yao didn't know about it at all. Tomorrow was the official peak competition, and each peak had to hand over 5 disciples to compete in the Black Stone Arena. Elder, we don't want to make things difficult for you. Just ask Li Zongjio to come out. I will wait for him here. If he can defeat me, I, Wang Bai, will admit defeat without hesitation. Wang Bai. He was the 3rd disciple of Long Herb Peak. It was said that Wang Bai also came from Wuxia City, but he was only from a small family. Wuxia City was so big that it was normal for there to be many people. Since Wang Bai had already spoken, the surrounding disciples applauded with all their might. Anyway, it was not their turn to fight. It was already very good for someone to stand up for them. They could just follow behind and watch the show. Wang Bai was not weak in terms of yuan qi cultivation. Moreover, he shone brightly in terms of alchemy. Although most of the disciples on the Long Medicine Peak did not assist in alchemy, they joined the Long Medicine Peak to enjoy the benefits of the elixirs distributed by the Long Medicine Peak. But the talent that Wang Bai displayed was enough to make the elders of Long Herb Peak pay attention to him. In the future, he was very likely to become a grade 2 alchemist. Therefore, the words of the other disciples might not carry enough weight, but Wang Bai's words could not be ignored by the elders. Ask Li Zongjio to come out. Yes, ask him to come out. Ask Li Zongjio to come out. One by one, they shouted excitedly. Their purpose was to ask Li Zongjio to come out. They could not tolerate a fellow who had only joined the sect for less than half a year. How could they allow such a thing to happen? Shut up. Just when the crowd was boiling with resentment, a cold voice rang out. Everyone turned around and saw that it was the eldest senior sister whom they had been yearning for day and night. The eldest senior sister had come down from the mountain to gain experience. There was a trace of boldness in her body. She gave off a very refreshing feeling. Those who had been through a lot would do things simply and directly. There would not be the slightest sloppiness. Because they knew that once they were sloppy, it was very likely that they would lose their lives. This is the sect's decision. I, Lin Yao, also acknowledge Li Zongjiu's strength. If you want to drive him out, then you have to defeat me first. Lin Yao stood out and said. Li Zongjiu was the savior of Lin Yao and her grandfather. Although she didn't know the details, Lin Yao had been to the Li mansion once. She knew the situation in the Li mansion. It was definitely not that simple. This Li Zongjiu could only be more terrifying than she imagined. Seeing that the eldest senior sister stood up for Li Zongjiu, this was incredible. Those little puppies all widened their eyes and looked at their senior sister in disbelief. How is this possible? Who exactly is Li Zongjiu? How dare he be so arrogant? Even the eldest senior sister was speaking up for him. What did this kid do to deserve this? How could he have the eldest senior sister stand up for him? Make way, I'm here to sign in. Just as everyone was dumbstruck, another voice rang out. This voice sounded very young and unfamiliar. It was a voice that was rarely heard. The person squeezed in front of the window. The elder looked at the disciple in front of him. He could not help but ask. The competition is already over. Why are you here to sign in? Oh, it's Lin Song who told me to sign in directly. Lin Song. You. How dare you call the Peak Master by his name? What's your name? Li Zongjiu. The elder was so angry that his beard blew and his eyes widened. This disciple who came out of nowhere actually dared to call the Peak Master by his name so arrogantly. If they did not teach him a lesson, people would think that the Long Medicine Peak had no manners. However, after hearing Li Zongjiu's words, the elder's eyes suddenly widened. You're Li Zongjiu. At that instant, countless gazes landed on Li Zongjiu's figure. These gazes contained different emotions and colors. Chapter 98. Li Zongjiu. What does this mean? Li Zongjiu had just returned to Hechanyao Peak when he remembered that he wanted to enter the foggy snow valley to cultivate for a few days. Therefore, he had to sign in before he could participate in the competition. Only by winning could he enter. This was the rule. Even Lin Song couldn't open the back door. If Li Zongjiu could defeat the sect master of the Foggy Snow Pill sect, then it would be possible. In such a large sect, sometimes, one person's words were not enough to make the final call. It was possible to play some tricks in the middle. Therefore, Li Zongjiu also came in person to participate in the competition between children. However, Li Zongjiu didn't look very friendly when he looked at these people. Li Zongjiu. He is Li Zongjiu. Lin Yao saw Li Zongjiu in front of her. This Li Zongjiu's behavior looked very relaxed and natural. Even under the gaze of so many people, he still didn't show the slightest bit of nervousness. His clothes were also very simple and neat. However, from the looks of it, he looked just like an ordinary young man. Even in this sect, he would be considered a very decent disciple. Such a disciple would basically not have any big changes or shocking actions. He would just live a normal life. However, the Li family of Wuxia city was really a crouching tiger and hidden dragon. Therefore, Lin Yao was surprised. If Li Zongjiu didn't say her name, Lin Yao wouldn't have guessed that the person in front of her was the person who saved her grandfather and her life. You are Li Zongjiu, right? I am your senior brother Wang Bai. Wang Bai pushed away the disciple in front of him like a crazy gorilla and came in front of Li Zongjiu. Do you want to fight? Li Zongjiu asked coldly. He wasn't stupid. These people gathered here one after another. If they weren't here to cause trouble, were they here to line up and treat you to a meal? Playing dumb was Li Zongjiu's style. What's more, there was no reason for Li Zongjiu to play dumb with these people in front of him. You've got guts. That's right, today I'm here to challenge you. If you can defeat me, then you'll have the qualifications to be ranked first. Otherwise, even if senior sister Lin Yao protects you, you'll never be able to sit firmly in this position. We'll never accept this. Wang Bai raised his head and puffed out his chest as if he was standing at the peak of morality. Now, even if Lin Yao came forward, there was nothing she could do. Lin Yao? Who is it? But if you want to fight, can we start now? Li Zongjiu said. Who was Lin Yao? You're a disciple of Long Herb Peak, but you don't even know senior sister Lin Yao's name. Such a disciple was simply disgraceful. But Wang Bai also heard Li Zongjiu's words. Since he accepted the challenge, then everything was fine. Wait till I kick your ass in front of everyone, in front of senior sister Lin Yao. At that time, senior sister Lin Yao will know who is the best match for her on this Long Herb Peak, the one who can follow senior sister Lin Yao's footsteps the most. Since you're ready, then prepare to die. Wang Bai roared, then took off his shirt, revealing his firm chest muscles. No need, Li Zongjiu wanted to tell Wang Bai not to bother, but seeing that Wang Bai had already taken off his shirt, he let it go. No need for what? Nothing, you do it. Li Zongjiu waved his hand. He actually asked him to attack first. As the saying goes, the one who strikes first gains the advantage. Unless you have absolute confidence in winning, then you can boast. Otherwise, if you let others attack first and then defeated you in the end, wouldn't you lose face? You're courting death. Wang Bai was more or less at the level of a second senior brother. But now he was provoked by Li Zongjiu, who clearly didn't put him in his eyes. Then I'll use my strength to show you what true strength is. People like you who go through the back door and try to force your way into the rankings are all trash. Wang Bai roared and pounced on Li Zongjiu. Circulating the Yuan energy in his body, Wang Bai had already reached the 9th grade of the Yuan realm. One must know that Li Sheng was only at the 6th grade of the Yuan realm, but he was already considered a very good genius and was carefully nurtured by Lu Shun. But this Wang Bai in front of him had actually reached the 9th grade of the Yuan realm. As expected of someone who had gone down the mountain to train for a period of time. His strength was indeed different. The surrounding disciples were shocked by the aura that Wang Bai displayed. Compared to the previous battle, senior brother Wang Bai's aura seemed to have risen. It seemed like he had made another breakthrough in his strength. This was truly inconceivable. Given Wang Bai's valiant momentum, it would not be difficult for him to win glory for Long Medicine Peak. Go, beat that arrogant brat to the ground. Beat him up. Even Lin Yao held back from attacking because she also wanted to see if Li Zongjiu was really that capable. Or rather, Lin Yao wanted to see how capable Li Zongjiu was. Slap. Li Zongjiu's figure moved. The moment Wang Bai pounced on him, he had already moved. Wang Bai swung his fist with all his might, trying to send Li Zongjiu flying. However, his fist was like cotton candy in front of Li Zongjiu. It did not have the slightest bit of power. Therefore, Li Zongjiu reached out and grabbed Wang Bai's wrist. He took advantage of the opportunity to throw Wang Bai forward. Wang Bai's figure directly rose into the air. He did not know that he had the potential to be as light as a swallow. Immediately, Wang Bai's figure rolled down the mountain. Fuck, help. Wang Bai was like a rolling watermelon, rolling down from the top of the mountain. During this process, he was actually unable to free his hands to stop his body. Because Li Zongjiu had used a little bit of strength in this move, Wang Bai was like a rolling cylinder. It was difficult for him to stop while he was rolling. Senior brother is in danger. Hurry up and save senior brother. When they saw that Wang Bai was about to roll to the foot of the mountain, a few disciples from the same lineage as Wang Bai immediately chased after him. Why did senior brother Wang Bai fly down by himself? Everyone felt incredulous. In their opinion, senior brother Wang Bai flew down by himself. How could he do such a thing? Could it be that senior brother Wang Bai was paid by Li Zongjiu to put on an act? However, looking at the way he was rolling down, it seemed like he was really falling down. Suddenly, these people were also surprised. Although this mountain was not very high, rolling down it would take at least half of one's life. If they did not stop him in time, he might really die. Can I sign in now? Li Zongjiu came in front of the elder and asked. Chapter 99. Even the elder was stunned by what he saw. After all, even he couldn't see Li Zongjiu's movements clearly. Oh, come, write your name here. This is your name tag. Do your best in the Black Stone Arena tomorrow. The elder said and gave him some words of encouragement. Of course, this was just a casual remark. After all, Long Medicine Peak wasn't focused on fighting, so it wasn't the focus of the peak test. The two main battle peaks were the ones that everyone was truly paying attention to. It was said that the most monstrous one was Mo Chu from Fierce Peak. Mo Chu's talent was monstrous. Within half a month of entering the sect, he had already become a Yuan practitioner. His cultivation speed soared like a rocket. Half a year later, he had already completed the foundation of the Yuan practitioner level. Ordinary disciples would need at least 2 years to complete this step. In Long Herb Peak, even a genius like Lin Yao had to spend 9 months to pass the novice level. Thereafter, her cultivation at the Yuan master level had to be steady. After Mo Chu had broken through the Yuan master level, his talent hadn't been depleted. It was as if his talent hadn't been used up. It was still erupting. He had been triumphantly advancing. In less than 3 years after entering the sect, he had already become a grade 7 Yuan master expert. Lin Yao's current strength was only at grade 4 Yuan master. Although Lin Yao's strength was stronger than Elder Lu Shun's alchemy skills were far above Lin Yao's. To become an elder of Long Medicine Peak, one's Yuan Qi level was secondary. It was enough if one could barely pass. However, one's alchemy skills had to pass. There was no doubt about this. Mo Chu, a grade 7 Yuan master expert, would be able to become a Yuan general expert after 3 to 5 years of cultivation. To be able to become an elder of Fog Snow Alchemy sect in less than 8 years, he was definitely a monstrous disciple. No one knew where Mo Chu's future would stop. Well, does the champion of the peak test have the right to challenge an elder? Li Zongjiu suddenly asked. The first place had the same qualification as the third place. Both of them could enter the Fog Snow Valley to cultivate. However, the alchemy pills given to him were different. As the champion, he would be given a high-grade 2 alchemy pill to assist him in his cultivation. It was even possible for him to break through to the next level in a short period of 3 days. But in reality, there was a hidden rule. That was, if this disciple could challenge a Yuan general-ranked elder and win, then he would be able to do so. That way, they would be able to enjoy the same treatment as the elders. He cultivated in the Fog Snow Valley for 4 whole days. All of this added up to a total of 7 days. In other words, Li Zongjiu could stay in the Misty Snow Valley for 7 days. But no one had ever been able to reach such a level. After all, this elder was a Yuan general. Of course, there were also many people who tried to challenge him. After all, this was one of the rare few who could receive personal guidance from a Yuan general-level elder. The reason for this rule was to give these disciples an unsurpassable goal. This was to let them know that there was no end to learning. And with Li Zongjiu's tone, it was clear that he wanted to challenge the elder. Of course you can challenge an elder. If you win, not only will you be able to enjoy 7 days of cultivation in the Fog Snow Valley, but you will also be given 2 high-grade 2 alchemy pills, the Sky Wind Energy Gathering pills. When the disciples heard this, they were so shocked that their jaws dropped. I can't believe there's such a thing. That's a good move. However, it should be impossible for him to defeat an elder. Someone else said. It didn't seem so easy to achieve. The elders were all Yuan general-level powerhouses after all. The elder who was going to challenge him was not an elder from Long Herb Peak. Instead, it was the elders of the Battle Peak. Those people could be said to have cultivated specifically for battle. Even the techniques that they usually cultivated were some real killing techniques. If they could reach the position of an elder, then they would be even more extraordinary. What kind of disciple could defeat an elder? No one knew, but no senior brother or senior sister in history had ever succeeded. Therefore, very few people knew about this hidden rule. The elder was a little surprised that Li Zongjiu knew about it. Li Zongjiu had only joined the sect for half a year. Even this peak test was his first time participating in it. Li Zongjiu certainly couldn't tell him that he had transmigrated back. But since this rule existed, it was fine. After all, so much time had passed, and some things had changed since he was reborn in this life. This was clearly a different world, so it might be affected. Li Zongjiu quickly signed his name on the book and took out his name tag. He had to bring this name tag to the battle tomorrow. It was Wang Bai, who had rolled down from the peak. Fortunately, he had only suffered some superficial wounds. With Long Herb Peak's ability, he could easily get back on his feet after rubbing some medicine on it. It was also because everyone was on the same side, and Li Zongjiu treated these people as children, so he didn't kill them directly when he attacked. Otherwise, these people wouldn't be enough for Li Zongjiu to kill in half a day. Wang Bai, who was lying on the bed, was also howling in pain. Li Zongjiu had also been listening to the howls coming from the opposite house for the entire night. Most of the Long Herb Peak's disciples' dormitories were gathered together. Even in Fog Snow Elixir sect, there were frequent appearances of meta beasts. Therefore, it was safer to gather them together. As for Li Zongjiu, he was just meditating. He wasn't moved by external things. At the same time, he was also studying the ancient golden tyrannical body art. The ancient golden tyrannical body art came from the golden dragon tattoo, which was formed by the golden dragon sovereign's dragon soul power. If that's the case, there must be a primordial art hidden in the other dragon souls. Li Zongjiu couldn't help but feel excited when he thought of this. The heavenly void gods record that he had obtained in his previous life was only a grade 7 primordial art. Even if he were to cultivate it again, he would at most reach the level of his previous life, but he wouldn't be able to surpass it. The exact same ending awaited Li Zongjiu. This wasn't the ending that Li Zongjiu wanted. In this life, he had to find a way to break through the Saint realm. I created the Prime Soul Fusion Pill in a vain attempt to fuse the 4 dragon souls. In that case, I was wrong. The dragon souls have already been formed, so it's useless for me to fuse them. It's just power. But what if I cultivate the primordial arts of the 4 dragon souls at the same time? With this thought in mind, Li Zongjiu's divine sense sunk as he immersed himself into his yuan bead. Bai Longwen, what are you hiding? Chapter 100. Li Zongjiu unleashed his mental energy. All of it fused into the origin bead. It awakened the white dragon soul. Immediately, Li Zongjiu felt that his mental energy seemed to be bathing in an extremely warm environment. In this environment, Li Zongjiu's mental energy also felt like it was being slowly caressed, which could achieve a calm and focused effect. In this spiritual world of nothingness, he continued to explore. He felt the existence of the power within. However, Li Zongjiu did not find any origin bead even after roaming around in this vast and mighty mental energy. Could it be that my mental energy realm is not high enough? Li Zongjiu thought as he retreated. After searching for a long time without any results, Li Zongjiu changed his method. If I use the aura of the golden dragon soul or the blood dragon soul, I might be able to find something in this white dragon soul. Li Zongjiu thought. After all, Li Zongjiu belonged to the human clan. If he used the aura of the human clan to pry into the secrets of the dragon clan, it would naturally be difficult to succeed. Therefore, Li Zongjiu also tried to imitate the aura of the golden dragon soul, and once again entered the white dragon soul's world. This time, there was indeed an unusual feeling. When Li Zongjiu descended once again, he clearly felt a sense of familiarity. At the same time, a origin bead also gradually appeared in Li Zongjiu's mind. White God inscription. Li Zongjiu's eyes shone with a bright light. White God inscription. This was the origin bead found in the white dragon soul. When Li Zongjiu finished reading the entire text, he was immediately shocked by the contents of the text. This white God inscription, above the content of the 7th grade inscription, there is actually this half of text sealed. At this moment, Li Zongjiu seemed to see hope. However, Li Zongjiu could not read this half of text no matter how hard he tried. 7.5. This white God Fu is actually a level 7.5 mental energy origin formula. Li Zongjiu was excited. Level 7.5, this was already beyond the level 7 realm, beyond the sovereign realm. The White Dragon clan was worthy of being called the most ancient bloodline. It was so powerful. However, in order to obtain the last half of the text, Li Zongjiu needed to raise his mental strength to a certain level. Otherwise, it would be difficult to succeed. But for Li Zongjiu, he was not in a hurry. As long as he could find it, then Li Zongjiu would have the opportunity and sufficient time to free you. As long as you existed, then it would not be a problem. The only difference was the speed of the process. Although the last half of the text was difficult to read, the White God Fu itself was an extremely powerful mind cultivation origin formula. Since Li Zongjiu wanted to break through the realm of his previous life, he had to start a new cultivation now. This White God Fu was Li Zongjiu's opportunity. That night, Li Zongjiu tried to cultivate the White God Fu. While Li Zongjiu was cultivating the White Divine Fu, he could clearly feel that his White Dragon origin spirit seemed to have become even more powerful at this moment. A wave of energy was also gradually recovering. After a night of cultivation, Li Zongjiu's mental strength had improved a lot. According to the current standard, Li Zongjiu's mental strength was equivalent to a level 2 spirit master. However, if he used the bonus of the White Dragon origin spirit, it would be equivalent to a level 3 spirit master. This was not difficult. The thunderous sound of the bell had already resounded above the Fog Snow Alchemy sect. On this day, all the disciples were incomparably excited. Those who represented their peaks to participate in the battle were all in high spirits. On the blazing peak. At the highest point of the mountain, a figure was sitting cross-legged. When the first sound wave of the bell brushed past his body, the clothes on his body swayed like ripples. After feeling this movement, the person slowly opened his eyes, which were filled with a trace of arrogance. At this moment, he was at the peak where he could overlook the Fog Snow Alchemy sect. This year is already the 3rd year since I entered the sect. Who in the Fog Snow Alchemy sect can be my opponent? Lin Yao, when I become the future sect master candidate, I don't believe that you won't be moved by me. Mo Chu stood up. The current Mo Chu was exactly 20 years old. He was the same age as Lin Yao. However, at this moment, Mo Chu's eyes were not filled with the struggle and fighting spirit of an ordinary youth. What he possessed was more of the ambition hidden deep in his heart, which was finally about to erupt. This kind of hidden tyranny was the most terrifying existence. As Mo Chu stood up, his ink-like clothes fluttered in the wind. The wind at the top of the mountain was really bone-chilling. Mo Chu directly faced the cold wind as he leaped down from the mountain peak that was a few thousand feet tall. From this position, he could also land on the black stone arena. The black stone arena was bustling with people. Li Zongjiu also followed the elders of the Long Herb Peak to the Crimson Afterglow Peak. The disciples of the Crimson Afterglow Peak were already prepared to receive them. Although they were all from the same sect, there was still relatively little interaction between them. Under normal circumstances, they would cultivate on their own peaks. Usually, they would only meet each other when there was an activity or a sect gathering. It was Li Zhongjiu's first time on the Crimson Afterglow Peak. Not to mention other things, the soil of the Crimson Afterglow Peak gave off a fiery feeling. The fire elemental energy here was rampant. Such a place was also advantageous for disciples with fire elemental energy. Li Zhongjiu walked in front. The one leading the way was the elder in charge of signing in yesterday. Even Lin Yao followed behind Li Zhongjiu. When they entered the Black Stone Arena, Li Zhongjiu could feel the excitement of the Long Herb Peak disciples behind him. When the mountain-like arena appeared in front of them, they would be accompanied by the loud cheers of their fellow disciples. At this moment, they seemed to be filled with glory. Young people will always be young people. What's there to be excited about? Li Zhongjiu said with disdain. Li Zhongjiu, who was used to life and death situations, was completely unmoved by this situation. It could even be said that he didn't feel anything at all. Look, the one descending from the sky is the genius disciple of the blazing peak, Mo Chu. Someone shouted loudly. Everyone also looked towards the sky. Suddenly, they saw a black figure descending from the sky. When this figure landed, it was like a ferocious black eagle. He's coming towards us. The faces of Wang Bai and the others changed. If they fell from such a high height, the people who were hit by them would all die instantly without any hesitation. How could this person not have any sense of safety? Li Zhongjiu frowned. He saw Mo Chu land in front of the Long Herb Peak disciples. Boom! That berserk aura also spread out, causing people's hearts to involuntarily tremble. This aura was truly powerful. Wang Bai was originally confident that he could perform well in this arena. But now, when he saw Mo Chu, he felt that he couldn't lift his head. In front of Mo Chu, Wang Bai's strength was not worth mentioning. Needless to say, those who couldn't stand Wang Bai. Mo Chu looked at Wang Bai and the others like a king. Finally, his gaze fell on Lin Yao. You've improved a lot. Chapter 101. Mo Chu's words made Lin Yao feel uncomfortable. It was as if an elder was giving advice to a junior. Junior brother Mo Chu, watch your words, Lin Yao said as she glanced at Mo Chu. According to seniority, Mo Chu had to address Lin Yao as senior sister. After all, Lin Yao had joined the sect earlier and was born as a member of the sect. How could an ordinary person compare to her? Furthermore, as the senior sister of Long Herb Peak, how could she be taken advantage of by someone from Fierce Peak? When Mo Chu heard this, he laughed heartily. After today, senior sister Lin Yao, you can't talk to me like this. Junior brothers of Long Herb Peak are welcome to visit Fierce Peak in the future. You're the Peak Master. Visit your place. Li Zhongjiu abruptly blurted out a sentence. Mo Chu was obviously treating himself as someone important. If he wanted to act tough, Li Zhongjiu wouldn't mind if he walked further away. However, since he wanted to act tough in front of Li Zhongjiu, then Li Zhongjiu wouldn't be polite to him. Mo Chu said directly. The smile on Mo Chu's face froze. Then, his relaxed expression turned cold and gloomy. When they turned around, they realized that there was a young disciple behind them. Li Zhongjiu looked even younger than them, and he looked extremely unfamiliar. They had only seen him a few times, which meant that this guy hadn't been in the sect for long. How dare he talk to Mo Chu in such a tone when he had just joined the sect? This kid must have not figured out the situation yet. How dare you talk to me like this? Do you know who I am? Mo Chu snorted coldly and questioned. Let me tell you, if you look at me like this again, I'll beat you up until you can't even shit. Li Zhongjiu was extremely displeased when he saw Mo Chu's gaze. He pointed at Mo Chu and spoke without any trace of politeness. Li Zhongjiu's words were a little vulgar. However, in front of the disciples of Long Medicine Peak, they still felt extremely domineering. This was the way to go. He wanted to give Mo Chu a hard slap. However, no one knew what the outcome would be. Lin Yao's eyes widened as she stared at Li Zongjiu. At this moment, she finally understood what was so special about Li Zongjiu. That was, Li Zongjiu was not bound by the rules at all. These words could be said to be completely unrestrained, but it gave people a feeling of open-mindedness and carefreeness. However, he was open-minded. Mo Chu was enraged. "You're courting death." Mo Chu's eyes were ablaze with flames. The aura on his body burst out and a powerful aura rushed towards Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu was also prepared to beat up the person in front of him. However, the elder from the Long Herb Peak had already walked over to them. "Presumptuous! How dare you attack without permission? Whatever grudges you have, let's talk about it in the arena." Although Mo Chu was the pride of the sect, the elder was still an elder of Long Herb Peak. He was one of them. Therefore, Mo Chu retracted his aura after hearing his angry shout. "You're lucky to have survived." Mo Chu tidied his clothes and said angrily. If he really attacked, he could beat Li Zongjiu until he became an idiot. "What an idiot!" Li Zongjiu said. He disdained to fight with such a kid. Otherwise, with his evil lord's temper, he would have already refined him into a blood bead. Hearing Li Zongjiu's curses, Mo Chu clenched his fists so tightly that they looked like crispy peas. He wanted to turn around and cripple Li Zongjiu. However, the elder was here and today was an important day. It wasn't a good time to cause trouble. The sect master and the other peak masters would be here as well. It would be difficult to explain the situation. "Well done, Li Zongjiu." After Mo Chu walked far away, Wang Bai was the first to clap. He gave Li Zongjiu a thumbs up. Li Zongjiu was definitely the first disciple who dared to confront Mo Chu. "What's wrong with that? You bunch of cowards," Li Zongjiu said disdainfully. These kids were really useless. How could they sacrifice their lives for their family and country in the future? "We'll prepare more fruits for you later. Don't worry about it today." "That's right, junior brother Zongjiu. Don't worry. We won't let you miss out on your lessons. We'll give you a copy of our notes and you can recuperate in peace." It seemed like they had already started preparing for Li Zongjiu's injuries. This made Li Zongjiu want to give each of them a slap to let them know why the slap was so loud. This small disturbance was like an accelerant before the start of the competition. It had the effect of livening up the atmosphere, which made people feel very happy. The noisy venue was soon filled with people. The contestants had to be present. The other disciples would also come to watch on time. After all, this was the honor of their own cultivation peak. If they didn't show up and show their support, how could they cultivate a sense of collective honor? Above the crimson afterglow peak, the wind and clouds gathered. Mo Chu returned to the camp of Fierce Peak. When the elders of Fierce Peak saw that Mo Chu seemed to have accumulated a lot of resentment, they couldn't help but feel puzzled. What is it that made you so angry?" Qin Lai, the elder of Fierce Peak, asked. As the great elder of Blazing Peak, he represented the strongest force on Blazing Peak. After all, the existence of the Peak Master was only symbolic. Of course, the strength of the Peak Master was undeniably strong. However, most of the time, the great elder would be the one to make the move when the time came. Could it be that the old fox from Crimson Afterglow Peak is pressuring you? Qin Lai suddenly had an impulse to stand up for Mo Chu. Like his name, his temper was also quite irritable. It was obvious that he wanted to fight with the elders of Crimson Afterglow Peak. The old fox that Qin Lai was talking about. He was also a competitor for many years. The great elder of Crimson Afterglow Peak, Yan Beihan. This was clearly a fire elemental formula, yet it just had to have such a cold name. This made Qin Lai feel extremely displeased. However, displeasure was displeasure. As an old friend of many years, the friendship between them was still very deep. However, in such a peaceful era, a real competition was needed to promote a better environment. No. It's not Elder Yen. It's an ignorant kid from Long Herb Peak. Elder, don't worry, I will settle this myself. Mo Chu said calmly. Long Herb Peak. Since when did Long Herb Peak become so stubborn? Qin Lai couldn't help but frown and say. The Long Herb Peak was an important part of the Snow Mist Pill sect. Most of the pills provided were refined by the disciples of the Long Herb Peak. However, the disciples of the Battle Peak had always complained that there were not enough pills and that there were too few of them. If there were more elixirs, their strength might increase even more. Of course, these grievances didn't dare to spread to Long Herb Peak. After all, these alchemists were each more arrogant than the other. After all, alchemists were extremely popular. The people of Long Herb Peak usually kept a low profile. When participating in such a competition, most of the time, they would interact with each other. However, there were still some people who really wanted to stand out. Compared to the people of Battle Peak, the gap was still quite big. Boom! A ray of light shot up to the sky. On the high platform, there were a few seats. 3 Peak Masters. The sect master of Foggy Snow Pellet sect. There was also a Supreme Elder who flew over together with him. Following the appearance of these people, the disciples in the crowd gave them a warm round of applause. Chapter 102. Ignite the Fire Beacon. The Misty Snow Pellet sect master waved his hand and ignited the Saint Flame on the Saint Flame Peak 1,000 meters away. This was a display of the Misty Snow Pellet sect's strength. The sect master is actually so powerful. Li Zhongjie was also a little surprised. Judging from the performance just now, the white-robed old man's cultivation had actually reached the origin ancestor realm. It was no wonder that no one dared to offend the Misty Snow Pellet sect even though it was located in a small corner. In addition to the strength of the sect master, the Supreme Elder who had been sitting beside him and looking like he was about to fall asleep seemed to be quite powerful as well. It was no wonder that the Misty Snow Pellet sect could develop freely with such an expert overseeing it. This was the true strength of a sect. As the fire beacon burned, it symbolized the prosperity of the sect. It was an auspicious sign. The peak test begins. The rules of the competition. Falling to the ground means defeat. Losing consciousness means defeat. Surrendering means defeat. There are no restrictions. An elder of the Crimson Afterglow Peak held a long scroll with a long list of names on it. There would be a total of 15 people in the competition, and there would be a vacancy in each round. There would even be situations where people from the same sect would fight each other. The first round, Zhang Yongjia of the Ru Lai Peak versus Lin Yao of the Long Herb Peak. Lin Yao was actually the first to go up. This was somewhat unexpected. However, there were also benefits to being the first to go up. At the very least, she wouldn't be affected by the situation later on. If she saw that everyone was as vigorous as a dragon, she would be more or less affected psychologically. Therefore, the benefits of being the first to go up were obvious. She wouldn't be affected by other situations. Senior Sister Lin Yao, go. Go Senior Sister. The Long Herb Peak will win. The disciples of the Long Herb Peak cheered loudly. Even Zhang Yongjia of the Ru Lai Peak had a bitter expression on his face. Everyone in the Ru Lai Peak knew that Lin Yao was the target of Mo Chu's pursuit. If he injured her, Mo Chu wouldn't let him go. Of course, with Zhang Yongjia's strength, he might not be able to reach that level. It would depend on each other's ability to fight with Lin Yao. Li Zhongjie sat in his seat. He had no interest in the competition in front of him. Therefore, he closed his eyes and tried to cultivate his white god Fu in his mind. The cultivation of the White God Bestowment mantra required years of accumulation. The elder in charge of the Long Herb Peak was extremely nervous at this moment. After all, Lin Yao was their hope. Whether or not they could enter the top 5 would depend on her. As for Wang Bai, he would probably be thrown out as soon as he went on stage. There was really nothing to look forward to. What about Li Zongjiu? She had gotten in through the back door and was gilded with gold. He didn't know what kind of relationship Li Zongjiu had with the Peak Master that he could receive such special treatment. Therefore, there was no hope at all. With such an attitude, you still want to obtain first place and fight against that elder? Daydreaming? Li Zongjiu was still dozing off in the middle of a bloody battle. Anyone who saw this would be very angry and unhappy. They would want to slap this Li Zongjiu awake. However, there was no need for that. It was more important to watch the competition now. Lin Yao's strength seems to have improved a lot. It seems that she has gained a lot from this experience. Chu Ao, the sect master of the Foggy Snow Pill sect, said. Although his name was Ao Ran, he was already past the age where he was arrogant. It's alright. You don't even focus on refining pills. You only know how to be competitive. Lin Tsang shook his head. On the other hand, Chu Aoran laughed out loud. Soon after, his eyes turned gloomy. How's the matter with the Black Zen sect going? The Black Zen sect had kidnapped Lin Yao and even directly controlled an elder of the Long Herb Peak. This made Chu Aoran very angry. He actually dared to extend his hand to the Snow Pill sect. They were simply tired of living. I killed some and some escaped. However, since there's a traitor in my Long Herb Peak, you should be more careful. Lin Tsang said. He, Lin Tsang, had disappeared for half a year. He was actually imprisoned by someone and no one knew about it. This kind of thing naturally made people's hair stand on end. We will also pay attention to this matter. I also feel that there's something wrong with some people recently. The Peak Master of the Crimson Afterglow Peak said. At this moment, there were only a few of them on the high platform. They were the ones who had founded the sect in the first place. The understanding they had during this period was not something that outsiders could understand. This Lin Yao girl won really quickly. Chu Ao Ran suddenly said. Everyone looked over and saw that Lin Yao and Zhang Yongzhe were fighting in close combat. Suddenly, Lin Yao used a whip kick that was as fast as lightning and rushed over. He directly kicked Zhang Yongzhe's chest and sent him flying. Bang! Long Herb Peak, Lin Yao wins. Lin Yao winning this battle could also be said to be very difficult, expending large amounts of essence energy. Without saying a word, she immediately cupped her hands at the referee elder and returned to her seat. She immediately sat down to recover her yuan power. At the same time, Lin Yao glanced at Li Zongjiu. She wanted to see if Li Zongjiu would be interested in her after this battle. What Lin Yao wanted was to show off her strength in front of Li Zongjiu. However, when Lin Yao returned to her seat, she realized that Li Zongjiu was actually sleeping with his eyes closed. He was actually dozing off in such an exciting battle. This made Lin Yao so angry that she gritted her teeth. After all, I'm the great senior sister of Long Herb Peak. How could I not be noticed? You did well. Here's a yuan recovery pill. Quickly consume it to recover your yuan power. Yes, elder. Lin Yao took the pill from the elder's hand and sat down cross-legged to recover her yuan power. However, she was still brooding over Li Zongjiu's disdain for her. This guy, I want to see what you're capable of. Lin Yao thought in her heart. However, the competition was still going on. The first 7 rounds of the competition were quite exciting. Some were lucky and got a bye, while some were unlucky and met Mo Chu of the Fierce Peak or Yang Hongyu, the chief disciple of the Crimson Afterglow Peak. Both of them were the strongest among the strongest. Basically, it was impossible to meet them. At the same time, The Yuan power aura they displayed was that of a grade 9 Yuan master. Such a young grade 9 Yuan master. It was really shocking. However, Mo Chu was younger and had cultivated for a shorter period of time. In terms of potential, he had more advantages. Of course, no one could be sure about the future. After Yang Hongyu's battle ended, his opponent was Wang Bai from Long Herb Peak. Wang Bai was defeated honorably. At least he managed to withstand 10 moves from Yang Hongyu. In the end, Wang Bai took the initiative to admit defeat. It was a relatively peaceful battle. After this round of battle, in Long Herb Peak, except for Lin Yao who won, everyone else was eliminated. Oh, no. There was still one person alive. That was Li Zongjiu. Even Lin Song was surprised by Li Zongjiu's luck. Wasn't this a little too good? He actually got a walkover. However, in the next round, he could no longer continue to get a bye. There were 7 winners in this round. Including the one who got a bye, there were 8 winners in total. The competition for the top 4 would begin. After the top 4 were determined, one person must be eliminated. Only the top 3 could enjoy the benefits of entering the Fog Snow Valley. There will be an hour's break. The second round will begin in an hour. The Crimson Afterglow Peak Elder said. At the same time, some disciples brought brooms and the like. They came up to clean the black stone arena. For cultivators, it was fine even if they didn't eat for a few days. However, they would still eat some fruits that were cultivated with spirit soil. These were good for their health. Zhao Yuan, the next round will be between you and Li Zongjiu. I want him to be bedridden for at least 3 months. Chapter 103. Mo Chu came in front of Zhao Yuan. Zhao Yuan was ranked 3rd in Rulai Peak. Among the 8 people who made it to the next round, there were 3 people from each of the 2 main peaks who made it to the next round, including Lin Yao and Li Zongjiu. Zhao Yuan's eyes lit up when he heard Mo Chu's words, but he didn't answer. A Vajra elixir. Don't worry, junior brother Mo Chu. Not only will I make him lie in bed for 3 months, but I'll also make him call me father in pain. Zhao Yuan said with a grin. As for why Mo Chu knew about the ranking of the next round, it was none of Zhao Yuan's business. A Vajra elixir was enough for Zhao Yuan to make a move. If he used too much force in the arena, he would be scolded at most. After all, this was the peak test. Once in the arena, one's life and death would be decided by fate. Half an hour quickly passed. Unfortunately, this was the first round. It landed directly on Li Zongjiu's body. The first round, Rulai Peak's Zhao Yuan vs Long Medicine Peak's Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu. The disciples of Long Medicine Peak didn't know how to feel when they watched Li Zongjiu's battle. They were cheering for Li Zongjiu. This guy had indeed gone overboard. He had directly used his connections to get in through the back door and forcibly occupied that spot. This was already very immoral. Moreover, Li Zongjiu was only a disciple who had joined the sect for half a year. It was this guy who had trampled everyone under his feet. The disciples of Long Medicine Peak naturally felt embarrassed. However, Li Zongjiu was now representing Long Medicine Peak. Sigh, I hope you won't lose too badly. The disciples of Long Medicine Peak couldn't help but say. They were also very curious about Li Zongjiu's fate. They didn't expect Li Zongjiu to win. They just hoped that Li Zongjiu wouldn't lose too badly. A person who went through the back door. How could he possibly defeat his opponent? These people were all elite disciples of the Battle Master Peak. Even the people from the other peaks were hoping that Li Zongjiu would be beaten up badly. This was because Li Zongjiu's luck was too good to be able to advance to the top 8. In this way, Li Zongjiu's ranking in the Snow Pill sect was already on the same level as him. A disciple who had joined the sect for less than half a year had directly become one of the top 8 disciples. One could only imagine how much trouble awaited him in the future. However, Li Zongjiu did not seem to realize this. When he was called, then, he slowly opened his eyes and stretched lazily. It was as if he had just woken up from a dream. Please, was this guy not nervous at all? Seeing Li Zongjiu slowly climb up the stage, the surrounding people were simply anxious to death. Even if you're here to dawdle, you should at least pretend to be one. However, Li Zongjiu seemed to have no such thoughts at all as he stood on the stage. Li Zongjiu's opponent was already standing on the stage. Zhao Yuan. On the spectator stand, seeing Li Zongjiu's actions, even Chu Aoran could not help but laugh. Looks like this Li Zongjiu doesn't put Zhao Yuan in his eyes at all. He actually hasn't looked directly at Zhao Yuan until now. Then, Chu Aoran suddenly thought of something and tilted his head to speak to Lin Sung. If I remember correctly, this Li Zongjiu seems to be ranked first in the Long Medicine Peak when he was reported. He has only joined the sect for less than half a year. In response to Chu Aoran's question, Lin Sung only smiled and shook his head. Sect Master, just continue watching. Looks like you have a lot of confidence in this Li Zongjiu. Chu Aoran said with a smile and did not say anything else. The other 2 peak masters also looked at Li Zongjiu. Lin Sung seemed to hold Li Zongjiu in high regard and wanted to see what Li Zongjiu was capable of. The red flag is on the ground. The match begins. The referee elder said in a deep voice. Then, he threw the red flag into the air. During this process, Li Zongjiu suddenly looked at Zhao Yuan. That idiot gave you a Vajra elixir to beat me, right? Li Zongjiu's lips curled into a cold smile. This smile was filled with an unknown coldness. Anyone who saw this scene would be shocked. How did you know? Zhao Yuan also widened his eyes and looked at Li Zongjiu. This was the deal between him and Mo Chu. How did the person in front of him know about it? It's not difficult, but you might feel more upset later. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. After Zhao Yuan recovered from his initial shock, he calmed down and looked at Li Zongjiu in front of him. Li Zongjiu's young face did not seem threatening at all. Since you already know, don't blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame Mo Chu. After all, there is no enmity between us. Zhao Yuan said. However, this statement was too naive in Li Zongjiu's eyes. How could there be such a person in this world? There was actually such a naive person. This made Li Zongjiu speechless. Just then, the red flag landed on the ground. In the next second, Zhao Yuan's body released a strong Yuan power aura. Boom! Grade 5 Yuan Master. With such strength, he was already a top expert in Wuxia City. If he couldn't survive in Fog Snow Pill sect, he could directly enter Wuxia City and find a good job. However, such strength was like a pile of trash in front of Li Zongjiu. Junior, fists and legs have no eyes. Be careful. Zhao Yuan immediately let out a roar. His palms immediately released a terrifying fire attribute Yuan power. His hands seemed to be burning. At the same time, the Yuan power around his body continued to gather, causing the temperature in the arena to rise abruptly. Flame-threading palm. He used a grade 2 Yuan skill right off the bat. Seeing this, Lin Yao and the others were furious. These guys were actually so ruthless. How could an ordinary Long Herb Peak disciple withstand such an attack? In the face of Zhao Yuan's blazing palm strike, Yi Zichen was stunned. Li Zongjiu's choice was very simple. He took a step forward and immediately rushed in front of Zhao Yuan. He raised his hand and punched out. This punch looked like a fist used by an ordinary person in a fight. It was even worse than an ordinary person's fist. After all, ordinary people knew how to exert force. However, Li Zongjiu's punch was not only slow and weak, but also lacking in accuracy. Trash. At first, Zhao Yuan thought that Li Zongjiu had some tricks up his sleeve and needed to be careful. However, after Li Zongjiu's attack, he knew that Li Zongjiu's combat experience was very little. In this battle, facing the enemy head-on was the most difficult and unrewarding thing. There was even a possibility of being killed by the opponent. Now, it seemed that there was no need to worry. Just as Zhao Yuan was about to destroy Li Zongjiu's combat power, he realized that Li Zongjiu's figure had unknowingly moved a few steps forward. It was just a few steps, but it directly broke Zhao Yuan's prepared attack rhythm. Not good. Zhao Yuan immediately wanted to adjust his state of mind, but it was too late. Li Zongjiu directly rushed forward with a punch. Bang! A punch smashed into Zhao Yuan's face. Zhao Yuan's entire body was sent flying. Then, with a bang, he flew back dozens of meters. When his body landed, he could barely stand straight. What shocked Zhao Yuan the most was that his body was standing on its own. Not good. Soon, Zhao Yuan saw Li Zongjiu's face with a sinister smile. He immediately had an extremely bad feeling in his heart. Chapter 104. As expected, Li Zongjiu didn't disappoint Zhao Yuan. Another punch landed on Zhao Yuan's face. Although Zhao Yuan reacted, it was already too late by the time he realized what had happened. Bang! Zhao Yuan rolled on the ground for more than 10 meters. Feeling deeply humiliated, Zhao Yuan immediately got up. Wind-fire shield. Zhao Yuan executed an elemental energy defensive move. Suddenly, a gust of wind and fire Yuan energy revolved around Zhao Yuan. This defensive technique was also an extremely common Yuan power shield. Only when one's Yuan power was able to break through this shield would the technique succeed. Wind-fire shield, right? Li Zongjiu's figure flashed as he rushed towards the wind-fire shield. Yuan energy surged in his palm. At this moment, Li Zongjiu was also displaying his Yuan energy cultivation. Grade 1 Yuan Master Realm. Such strength was no threat to Zhao Yuan at all. When Zhao Yuan saw that Li Zongjiu was merely a Tier 1 Yuan Master, he found it ironic that Li Zongjiu was able to suppress him. He had to turn the tables around. I don't believe you can break my wind-fire shield. Zhao Yuan was full of confidence. But in the next moment, he couldn't laugh anymore. Li Zongjiu's hand easily penetrated Zhao Yuan's wind-fire shield, grabbed Zhao Yuan, and threw him to the ground. Bang! During this process, Zhao Yuan didn't have the slightest strength to resist. Even Zhao Yuan couldn't believe it. How could something like this happen? He couldn't even resist for a while. Bang! 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 The wind-fire shield was directly smashed by Li Zongjiu. After stopping, Li Zongjiu threw Zhao Yuan into the sky. Whoosh! Go! A ray of light flew out from Li Zongjiu's hand. This was an attack similar to a Yuan energy bomb. However, an ordinary Yuan Master's Yuan energy bomb could only fly 10 meters away from the body. Li Zongjiu's Yuan energy bomb flew over 30 meters. With a bang, Zhao Yuan was sent flying to the edge of the arena. He hadn't completely rolled out of the arena yet. Zhao Yuan's control of strength was quite good. Li Zongjiu continued walking towards Zhao Yuan. After waking up, Zhao Yuan felt intense pain all over his body. The Yuan energy bomb just now had directly hit Zhao Yuan so hard that he couldn't recover for a long time. When the Yuan Qi bullet hit Zhao Yuan, it split into dozens of Yuan Qi and poured into Zhao Yuan's body. It hit the painful acupoint in Zhao Yuan's body. The pain made him grimace in pain. When he saw that Li Zongjiu was still walking towards him, Zhao Yuan was so scared that he crawled down the stage. He couldn't even stand up. Plop! Plop! Zhao Yuan's body fell to the ground. Li Zhongjiu could no longer continue attacking. I admit defeat, Zhao Yuan said. This strange battle also shocked Zhao Yuan. They were even filled with fear towards Li Zhongjiu. In their hearts, they were filled with fear. Long Herb Peak, Li Zhongjiu wins, the referee elder said. However, there were no cheers. Everyone was shocked by what had just happened. In their opinion, it shouldn't be like this. How could Li Zhongjiu defeat someone? This battle wasn't exciting at all. It wasn't thrilling. Logically speaking, Li Zhongjiu should be the one being chased and beaten. After Li Zhongjiu won, he didn't make any waves. He glanced at Mo Chu's direction and gave him a hint with his cold eyes. This hint was that Li Zhongjiu would beat him up. Mo Chu couldn't help but sit up straight. He stared at Li Zhongjiu. It wasn't difficult to defeat Zhao Yuan. However, Mo Chu didn't see clearly how Li Zhongjiu defeated Zhao Yuan. The biggest taboo on this battlefield was not being able to see through the opponent's background. This was the reason why Mo Chu was shocked. Mo Chu's lips curled into a cold smile as he stared at Li Zhongjiu. Very well. Since you've passed, let me serve you well. Mo Chu clenched his fists so tightly that crackling sounds could be heard. Everyone could feel the anger in his voice. On the spectator stand, even Chu Aoran's eyes widened. How is this possible? Chu Aoran was speechless. Given Yuan Zhong's strength, he was naturally aware of just how exquisite the move that Li Zhongjiu had just displayed was. In fact, his control over Yuan power had already reached a transcendent level. Only an old monster who had cultivated Yuan power for decades could control it as skillfully as Li Zhongjiu. Even Chu Aoran was ashamed of his inferiority. His control of Yuan power was far inferior to Li Zhongjiu's. How was this possible? Li Zhongjiu had only entered the sect for half a year. Who could teach such a disciple? He looked at Lin Song with a doubtful gaze. Lin Song also expressed his helplessness. I'm afraid that our sect has a genius that only appears once in 10,000 years. Lin Song wasn't exaggerating. In fact, it wasn't even enough to describe Li Zhongjiu. Such a monstrous talent. He was already comparable to the genius disciples of the first-rate sections. Not bad, not bad. However, I think that this kid seems to be fighting with Mo Chu. If I'm not wrong, it won't be that easy to defeat Mo Chu, Chu Aoran said. As a grandmaster, not only did he not have any intention of stopping the fight between the genius disciples of his sect, he even wanted to see who was stronger between the two of them. Where could he find such a grandmaster? He was simply a clown. Li Zhongjiu returned to his seat. He still turned a deaf ear to other matters and did not even know that his current ranking had already successfully leaped to the 4th rank of the sect's disciples. Could it be that this guy didn't even feel a trace of pride? Wang Bai and the others looked at Li Zhongjiu. They couldn't help but give a thumbs up to Li Zhongjiu's cultivation base. Hi. This was a true expert. Junior Li Zhongjiu must be an incredible person to be able to remain unfazed by honor and disgrace. Wang Bai recalled that when he fought with Li Zhongjiu yesterday, he was also thrown off the cliff by his opponent. At that time, he thought that it was an accident. However, it seemed that Zhao Yuan had also lost inexplicably. Even Zhao Yuan, who was a 5th-grade Yuan master, had lost inexplicably. Wasn't this enough to prove Li Zhongjiu's strength? If one couldn't see Li Zhongjiu's strength, it was because one's strength wasn't enough to reach Li Zhongjiu's level. Looking at Li Zhongjiu's current calm appearance, Wang Bai couldn't help but wonder. The admiration he had for Li Zhongjiu in his heart was like a tidal wave that gushed forth endlessly. When Zhao Yuan fell off the arena, he had already fainted from the pain. The Yuan energy that Li Zhongjiu had left in Zhao Yuan's body didn't dissipate. Instead, it continued to stimulate Zhao Yuan's body, allowing him to continue in this pain. This was the most terrifying method. Li Zhongjiu naturally had to teach these children. Some things were good, but they were very troublesome. Next time, he had to be careful. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. It was just some jealousy between young people. Therefore, Li Zongjiu didn't kill him. As an elder, he was still magnanimous. The next battle was between Lin Yao and Yang Hongyu from the Crimson Afterglow Peak. This was clearly a free-point challenge. Given Lin Yao's talent and strength, it was basically impossible for her to win against Yang Hongyu. However, if Lin Yao was arranged to compete with other disciples, Longherb Peak's reputation wouldn't look good in the end. Therefore, it was better to let Lin Yao fight Yang Hongyu. This way, it would be easier to explain if she lost. Chapter 105. Junior Sister Lin, it's been a long time. Your cultivation has improved a lot. Yang Hongyu looked at Lin Yao and said with a smile on his face. He had a graceful demeanor. Lin Yao's identity was special. If anyone could take Lin Song's only granddaughter into their arms, they wouldn't lack elixirs to assist them in their cultivation. What's more, Lin Yao was also young and beautiful. In addition, her cultivation talent wasn't weak either. They were a perfect match. Therefore, anyone who had a good eye would be very interested in Lin Yao. They wanted to win Lin Yao's heart. However, Lin Yao's vision wasn't limited to the Snow Elixir sect. In her eyes, there was only yearning for the martial Tao. She wanted to become an expert and avenge her parents. It wasn't a human who killed her parents, but a meta beast. Therefore, Lin Yao and the origin beast had a grudge that would not end until one of them was dead. Some meta beasts were gentler, but most of them were bloodthirsty and violent. They were extremely vicious and terrifying. Senior brother Yang, be careful. Since they were of the same generation, it was natural for them to be judged by their age and not by their cultivation. Lin Yao was expressionless. She even looked extremely cold. Yang Hongyu didn't find it strange. After all, if Lin Yao suddenly smiled like a flower and threw herself into his arms, he would have to be on guard. The red flag fell. Lin Yao immediately launched an attack. Yang Hongyu's face still had that elegant smile on it from beginning to end. Li Zongjiu woke up from his cultivation. After reading the essay of the White God repeatedly, Li Zongjiu realized that his mental strength seemed to have entered a gentle state. Under the influence of this mental strength, Li Zongjiu might become more peaceful and wouldn't be affected by the murderous aura. Some of the more violent and bloodthirsty people had a strong murderous aura because of the Yuan art they practiced. Moreover, once a fight broke out, they would not be able to survive. Therefore, Li Zongjiu's training was extremely beneficial to him. I can prepare for this mental cultivation method. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. The visualization of the white god Fu seemed to have a limit, so when Li Zongjiu wanted to continue, he felt that it was difficult to move forward. Perhaps it was because his mental strength was not enough. Therefore, Li Zongjiu focused his attention on the match in front of him. Yo, this chick is pretty good. Li Zongjiu saw Lin Yao's movements. Although she couldn't be considered a veteran, her movements were quite normal. This sword technique should be a set of ancient sword techniques from 10,000 years ago. The sword techniques from 10,000 years ago were all evolved from some basic movements. This chick's basic skills are quite solid. Wang Bai, who was sitting to the side, also heard Li Zongjiu calling her a little girl and found it quite smooth. That was way too bold of him. Didn't he see that the elder's face had already darkened? However, Li Zongjiu acted as if he didn't see it at all. He was still pointing at the two people on the stage. This guy is so ugly, and his martial arts is so bad. With this level of skill, if they were at the same level of Yuanli, this guy would definitely die. Li Zongjiu said. If Li Zongjiu hadn't won a match just now, this elder would have stood up and directly thrown Li Zongjiu out. What qualifications do you have to point fingers below? The other people are fighting hard on the stage, and you are here making sarcastic remarks. Lin Yao's movements were swift and her swordsmanship was also first class. Although she didn't have many experts, she was very calm. At the beginning, Yang Hongyu also wanted to fight with Lin Yao with the same level of Yuan Li Zongjiu. However, he found that he wasn't enough to fight with Lin Yao. Immediately, Yang Hongyu changed his strategy. He would first defeat Lin Yao before anything else. Junior sister Lin Yao, I'm sorry. Yang Hongyu shouted as the Yuan Li in his body crazily poured into his chest. Second grade origin skill, Heavenly Fire Fist. As Yang Hongyu's body swayed, his fist immediately released a strong wave of Yuan Li. This fist smashed towards Lin Yao like a scorching fireball, attacking Lin Yao's head. Lin Yao's body retreated, wanting to dodge this attack. However, she found that Yang Hongyu's speed was even faster. Punch after punch came at her. Boom! 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 Flames and heat waves filled the sky, and Lin Yao had no place to hide. Finally, she couldn't dodge the last punch. Amidst the waves of fire, Lin Yao wielded her long sword to block them. Clang! Boom! The fist collided with the long sword and instantly sent Lin Yao flying. Bang! This punch didn't manage to hold back its strength. Not only did it send Lin Yao flying out of the arena, but it also sent her flying for dozens of meters before she landed on the Long Herb Peak's viewing platform. She smashed 5 meters in front of Li Zongjiu. She directly smashed a chair into pieces. She couldn't get up for a long time. Fortunately, 2 junior sisters from the Long Herb Peak immediately went up and helped their senior sister up. Lin Song was speechless when he saw this scene. This Li Zongjiu was too calm. Even when he saw such a situation, he didn't step forward to help him. Was it so difficult for Li Zongjiu to save the damsel in distress? Li Zongjiu was also very calm. Lin Yao was helped up and sat back down beside Li Zongjiu. Lin Yao didn't say anything about Li Zongjiu not saving her. After all, Li Zongjiu had no obligation to save her. You fought pretty well. Li Zongjiu looked at Lin Yao and said. Even Lin Yao herself was taken aback. What do you mean by that? It's fine if you don't come to save me, but when you saw me fall so miserably, you actually came up to praise me. This is obviously mocking me. Lin Yao's face suddenly became very ugly. But your swordsmanship is too slow, and you didn't have to follow the order. Swordsmanship is dead, but people are alive. You used the dead swordsmanship even more. Li Zongjiu continued. At first, Lin Yao thought that Li Zongjiu was talking nonsense. But in the blink of an eye, when she recalled what Li Zongjiu had said, she suddenly felt as if she had been enlightened. This caused her to be extremely shocked. Just a casual sentence like this actually gave her a feeling of enlightenment. Swordsmanship is dead, but people are alive. A good set of swordsmanship was used so rigidly by herself. You learned the ancient sword, right? This swordsmanship is too old. You can learn the basic part. The advanced part is rubbish. Li Zongjiu said. Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Lin Yao's eyes widened. You. How did you know? The ancient sword technique was one of her secrets. Even until now, she hadn't told anyone about it. Even her grandfather didn't know about it. How did Li Zongjiu know about it? You don't have to look as surprised as if you ate a fly. It's not a big deal. Chapter 106. Li Zongjiu's words caused Lin Yao to be unable to calm down for a long time. However, looking at Li Zongjiu's expression, it seemed that he did not approve of the ancient sword technique that Lin Yao had cultivated. Moreover, Li Zongjiu's attention was mostly focused on the competition in the arena. Lin Yao did not speak. Instead, she suppressed the shock in her heart and began to circulate the spiritual energy in her body to recover from her previous exhaustion and injuries. Yang Hongyu returned to his original position. Yang Hongyu felt that Lin Yao's strength was a little strained. Most importantly, Mo Chu had seen his ultimate move. Perhaps Mo Chu would come up with a countermeasure. This was something that Yang Hongyu was extremely worried about. However, when Yang Hongyu looked at Mo Chu, he realized that Mo Chu was not looking at him at all. Mo Chu's gaze was focused on Lin Yao's direction. He was really infatuated. No, Mo Chu was not looking at Lin Yao, but at the young man beside her. If he remembered correctly, this person was called Li Zongjiu. After all, he had won the previous round, which made Yang Hongyu remember Li Zongjiu's name. However, Li Zongjiu's strength was just trash in Yang Hongyu's eyes. He was merely a grade 1 Yuan master. If this strength was placed in the Long Herb Peak, he would be considered as having some potential. But if he was placed in the Crimson Afterglow Peak or the Blazing Peak, he would be beaten up. It was simply a disgrace to bring out such strength. Why is Mo Chu's attention always on this kid? Has he changed his taste? Thinking of this, Yang Hongyu felt goosebumps all over his body. He did not expect Mo Chu to be such a person. If Mo Chu knew what Yang Hongyu was thinking, he would definitely stand up and strangle Yang Hongyu to death. The winner of the third round was Ma Zhao from Crimson Afterglow Peak. Ma Zhao's strength was on par with his opponent's. Ma Zhao's final victory was due to his good luck. However, Ma Zhao had used up all of his Yuan Master's energy in this round. He would probably not be able to participate in the next round and would be relegated to fourth place. The fourth round was between Mo Chu and Blazing Peak's disciple. Mo Chu did not give his opponent any face this time. Blazing Peak's disciple's Yuan Master was a grade 6 Yuan Master. However, he could not withstand a single move from Mo Chu. Mo Chu was defeated in a single move. Mo Chu displayed the tyrannical attitude of an expert. Displayed such a domineering aura. Mo Chu was not affected by the enthusiastic applause from the audience. It was as if he was supposed to be enjoying the applause. In this way, the top 4 to be determined. Long Medicine Peaks Li Zongjiu, Crimson Afterglow Peaks Yang Hongyu, Ma Zhao Blazing Peaks. Everyone was surprised that Long Medicine Peak was able to advance to the next round. They did not expect Li Zongjiu to be able to get close to the top 4. Ma Zhao was resting on the spot. If possible, he wanted to recover quickly and fight with Li Zongjiu. It would be best if he could defeat Li Zongjiu. Then, he would be able to get into the top 3 and receive a generous reward. Half an hour later, Yi Zichen's eyes lit up. The finals began. The first round was between Ma Zhao and Yang Hongyu. Since Ma Zhao forfeited, Yang Hongyu automatically won. This was very satisfying. The highlight of the second round had arrived. It was between Li Zongjiu and Mo Chu. Li Zongjiu's luck was too good. In addition, he had won the previous round inexplicably. Therefore, many people thought that Li Zongjiu had relied on luck to survive until now. Now that he had met Mo Chu, he would be beaten back to his original state. Mo Chu will definitely not let you go in this round. You have to be careful. Don't try to be brave. Seeing Li Zongjiu getting up and preparing to enter the arena, Lin Yao said. Lin Yao could not help but say. Young people were hot-blooded and cared a lot about their reputation. However, when they cared about their reputation, they would lose their lives. Therefore, Lin Yao said this in hopes that Li Zongjiu would listen to her. However, Li Zongjiu did not seem to hear her at all. He did not even stop and walked past her. This made Lin Yao so angry that she clenched her fists tightly. She wanted to hit Li Zongjiu on the head. How can this person be like this? Under normal circumstances, not many people would be able to see Lin Yao's good side. She took the initiative to show concern for Li Zongjiu but was ignored. After entering the arena, Mo Chu seemed to have been waiting for Li Zongjiu for a long time. When he saw Li Zongjiu, Mo Chu grinned. On his young face, there was a trace of experienced viciousness. It seemed that this kid had done a lot of heinous things behind his back. He needed to be properly dealt with. Li Zongjiu, I have been waiting for you for a long time. If you can walk down from this arena today, I will write my name backwards. Mo Chu sneered and said. He had been suppressing his anger for the entire day. This Li Zongjiu actually dared to mock him and provoke him. This made Mo Chu feel that his dignity and status had been insulted. In the face of such humiliation, he had to make the other party bleed with regret. Li Zongjiu didn't know what was going on in Mo Chu's mind, so he just looked at the elder and asked. Elder, can we start? I can't wait to teach this stranger a lesson. Li Zongjiu said seriously. No one thought that Li Zongjiu was joking. He really wanted to teach Mo Chu a lesson. Just to teach Mo Chu a lesson. Wasn't he afraid that others would laugh their heads off? What a shameless boast. He doesn't even know senior brother Mo Chu. How dare he say that he is a stranger? Where did this idiot come from? Where did this idiot come from? He is from Changyao Peak. Oh my god, this is hilarious. When senior brother Mo Chu beats him up, this guy will definitely be hilarious. Immediately, the disciples from the surrounding peaks burst into laughter. They were mocking Li Zongjiu. This was because Li Zongjiu's behavior was like a country bumpkin. It was as if he was a beggar who suddenly came to the palace and said that he wanted to compete with the #1 Imperial Guard in swordsmanship. What was there to compete with? If Mo Chu did not turn him into a meatball, he would be a fool. Mo Chu was furious. Li Zongjiu's mouth was really crafty. As for the referee elder, he also looked up at the sky. After throwing the flag in his hand, he retreated to the bottom of the arena. He asked the disciples in charge of medical treatment to get ready. If Mo Chu was beaten up too badly, he might be able to save his life. Pa! The red flag fell to the ground. Mo Chu had already prepared the terrifying Yuan power in his body. It had already reached the critical point and it instantly exploded. Boom! The powerful Yuan power was like a hurricane, swallowing Li Zongjiu. Within the hurricane, there seemed to be a flood dragon emerging from it. Wind and Fire Dragon Assembly. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.